Y'all, we just hit 3K, and I really want to thank y'all for that. In all honesty, I've been doing this since December, like really going consistently since December with actual videos, and I've gained over 1,000, over like 1,600 followers just strictly off videos, and that's just crazy. I really do appreciate y'all. I hope y'all enjoy this compilation I have for y'all. I think I'm going to try to make it 2 hours. If my iPad overloads or explodes, but just know if you see this video, it's most likely super long. It might be my longest video I posted on this channel because we've hit 3K. But thank y'all. I cannot express my gratitude enough. And please enjoy. Hirohiko Araki has done many things throughout his career, but one of the things he has done is spark a debate in the past 2 years of whether or not his main character from part 5, Giorno Giovanna, would hate his main character from part 9, Joestar. Now, if you aren't caught up on JoJo or you just didn't know, Jodio is the alternate counterpart of Giorno. Essentially, he's just the alternate universe's version for Giorno. And he is a drug dealer. And not only that is he 15, the same age as Giorno during the events of part 5, but Giorno's whole deal was getting drugs off the street away from children. He didn't care what adults did, but children, he hated that. So of course, immediately during chapter 1, because I was there and I remember seeing and making some memes myself of Giorno and Jodio clashing, just simply because Jodio is a 15-year-old drug dealer and Giorno is a 15-year-old gang member who wants to stop drugs flowing into his city and country of Italy. Now, I was thinking about this video idea only 20 minutes ago when I had just made a TikTok video about this same thing, just about if Jodio and Giorno would hate each other or like each other. And in all honesty, I think it would be cold indifference from both of them. Giorno, being the person he is, would search to try to help Jodio, really try to get him to stop selling drugs and just turn to a life somewhat similar to his, or just go to school. And Jodio wouldn't listen. He wouldn't respect Giorno at all, because again, it would be like some random old man coming up to you and telling you to stop doing something. How many times are you going to listen to a stranger? But Giorno would never particularly be completely mad at Jodio for being someone who sells drugs, just because he's a child in a drug trade and he has a whole organization with him and he's been working with the organization. Giorno would be aimed at that organization. He wouldn't take his anger out on Jodio. He would rather try to dismantle that entire organization than if Jodio tries to, kill him or anything of that sort. He would then try to kill Jodio. Because again, even in part 5, we see that Giorno, he never necessarily blames the child for being caught up in something that's within their environment and that's all around them, because he grew up in that environment. He knows how it is, and he knows that it's increasingly hard to escape that environment as a young child. That's why him and Bucciarati got along together so good at the start, because Bucciarati, he also knew how hard it was to be a child away from a life of crime and just have to join that life of crime or start selling things just for your family or you to get by or even have protection. So Giorno would probably just try to make all the surroundings within that city, knowing that there are drug dealers and there are kids going around selling whatever, doing whatever. He would try to make his influence more known to control the supply and stop the supply from going in and out. That's if he really cared about Jodio. If he doesn't really care about Jodio and it's someone he just knows or meets, he would try to get Jodio to stop. He may have a physical confrontation with him, but I don't think it goes far beyond that. And in Jodio, I feel like Jodio wouldn't really hate Giorno unless Giorno actually does something to stop him from selling, which would stop his money supply, which would then make him angry. If you've read part 9 at all, Jodio's a fucking psychopath, like legitimately. So all he would really have to do is make him angry, and then he would probably just hate him, So I think I think it all depends, like, really how much they interact. You know, the fewer interactions, the better. Because the more interactions, that's just going to lead to more chances for Giorno to be like, yo, you should really stop pushing that H. And Jodio really just not listen. But it also depends, like, where they are. Like, if Jodio's selling in Italy, oh yeah, Giorno's having a big problem. Then it's a real issue, you know. But if Jodio's home and Giorno's visiting America, and he just happens to see that in Hawaii, you know, he would probably try to stop it. But, like, I don't know. I don't feel like it would be that much of a big problem because he's not going to be there for that long. But I feel like all of that will be solved if Giorno's just like, yo, I'll give you a job if you stop selling. A good one. You'll get rich. I think Jodio would stop, or he would say, oh yeah, I'm gonna stop, not stop, and then try to assassinate Giorno. But that's just based off of the little stuff we've seen from Jodio so far. Or it depends, because if Giorno really gives him a job in the mafia, I think Jodio stops selling. You know, I don't think Jodio has a problem with selling anymore, and I feel like they could really be cool and stuff. I feel like they could be cordial. It wouldn't be anything really bad, in all honesty. But that's really all I got for y'all. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, we're on the road to 5K. We're almost at 3K, which is amazing. You know, this half a year we've gained almost 2,000 followers so far, so I can only say thank you from the bottom of my heart, and until next time, peace. Kei Nijimura was the sister of Yoshikage Kira, daughter of Holly Kira, and the, I guess, half sibling of Josuke Higashikata, literally. And with that being said, there's one thing to really say about her: she deserved better. She deserved a lot better than the ending she got, but she did clutch up. She did something that no one else could have done in that moment, and in all honesty, her services were much appreciated. Kei Nijimura, born as Kei Kira, was born to investigate their secret. After the earthquake of May 11, Nijimura discovers the supernatural properties on the soil near the wall-eyes, which can exchange parts between two buried objects. Now, the start of this story is very interesting, as she came along during the Born This Way arc, as that is her stand. We find out that she is a part of she is a free maid for the Higashikata family, and she starts essentially intimidating Josuke, mostly because she saw him as a threat, and because she saw Josuke was investigating her family tree. So she saw that he might have some nefarious things in mind to do to her and her family, so she ended up chasing Josuke down. This is when her and Josuke fight. We get the Born This Way arc fight, which was a very good fight. Little messy, could not see everything, but still very good. And as Kei asked for something very important, for Josuke to stay away from her mother, and Josuke decides to completely agree, but Kei really means it until she gets a good look at Josuke and she sees something. Two organs spliced together.
Motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
He's good.
And the way she noticed that was the way Josuke's eyes were and his tongue was. This is when she realized that her brother and someone else makes up Josuke Higashikata. And this is also where she helps Josuke realize something important of the fact that he is a fusion between two people. As she leads him to the wall-eyes, she puts a lemon and an orange under the ground at the side of the wall-eyes, and then she digs them up, only to see that the parts have been mixed, showing Josuke that yes, he is a fusion, and yes, he is her half-brother. I don't care what any of y'all say in the comments. I don't care how y'all say that's not how biology works. It's how it works today. Now, for the rest of part 8, she didn't really do much. We see her a few times, but usually the spotlight wasn't on her, like, at all, until we get to the very end. And this is when she is called upon again, because she is called upon by Yasho, and when Yasho calls her, she answers. And Yasho says, hey, Josuke is in danger. He's currently facing one review alone because Namikaze was done. Like seriously, Rei Mizuku it was over. It was cooked. I watched that panel and how one of you just started taunting the plant appraiser. I was like, come on. Watched, read, but come on. I was like, there's no way he's getting killed like this. This man was a literal inches away. He grabbed him, but then he didn't. Anyway, she was taking care of her mother at the hospital, and she gets a call. She goes to go help Josuke because that's all that was asked of her. Help Josuke, get the phone to Josuke. And when she gets to the Hokagekhi lab, Wonder if you had just incapacitated Josuke and Soft and Wet, and it was almost over until Born This Way comes through, freezes Soft and Wet's bubbles, which led to Soft and Wet actually getting a few hits on Wonder of You, and then Kay comes through the door. But her big mistake, she was in Calamity, because sure as hell, I'm pretty sure his cane snapped off and it went right into her face. Now, to her credit, again, she completed the mission. She gave Josuke the phone somehow with the thing lodged in her eye. Like, that was, again, genuinely crazy. That's part of the reason I can't wait for Part 8 to get animated, because the body horror fled. Because again, this was Josuke actually getting hits on Wonder of You, something that again was basically unheard of. And Josuke, he just sat there reminiscing on two of his friends, one of which was his half sister, who he just lost in this battle. But this was only the beginning. Like, I'm sorry, Kei Nijimura, she deserves so much better, because she really only gets an arc and then her death scene. Like, that's basically it. And in all honesty, it makes sense why. She's supposed to be serving as taking care of her mother, not really involved with the plot. I mean, she didn't even help her brother when he had his own plot on how to fix her mother. You know what I mean? I'm just saying this. I feel like that stand was too cold, for one. And for two, she could have been a way bigger threat than she was, even to the antagonist. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but after she had showed her half-brother the walleyes, I thought that she would start joining him on missions and kind of helping him a little bit more, you know what I mean? But then again, how much could she know? She don't mess with them fucking special fruits. But that's really all I got for y'all today. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. Ghost Star concept Hirohiko Araki has never shied from. He's always looked to add more things about ghosts and more properties, even if he doesn't add it directly into the story. And that's why today I was mighty interested in how ghosts function in JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, because I know compared to normal they have a few very different properties. If you've ever read Dead Man's Questions, that's definitely where I'll be pulling a lot from in this video. Most of the properties that we see in Dead Man's Questions, given that Kira is literally functionally a ghost. Yeah. Now, of course, let's start off with the main interpretation we've seen with like ghosts in the actual anime, being when someone dies, their soul just floating up, and we see the personification of them in the stars as they float to heaven away. They may do a gesture, they may say a sentence, they may even get a paragraph in, but fine. Except they just have no memory, as we've seen with Yoshikage Kira in Dead Man's Questions. Now, ghosts, like typically in every other form of media, they're invisible to people, but they are invisible to those people's animals. And they can also be heard by people too. One thing that also is key to mention is that stand users in particular can automatically see ghosts. Remy suggests that it has something to do with the fact that they untapped something with their stand, which is again the manifestation of the soul, and the ghost, at least in the JoJo world, is usually the manifestation of how they were left off, like their body was left by the time of their death. Remy also suggests that the stand users were closer to the spirit realm, as monks can also develop the ability to see and speak to ghosts. Stand users can also use their ability on ghosts, as we saw Kira use his ability. A ghost. If stand users can actually harm ghosts, we don't know that. But we do know this. Ghosts, they can make ghost items, or there can just be ghost items laying around. But those ghost items cannot interact or interfere with anything in the physical world or of the physical objects. We see that with Emporio Stand, the Ghost Room. We see that with Ghost Girl's Alley. All those, they're made up of previous memories that was manifested by both of them. Well, Remy didn't manifest the alley, I'm pretty sure. That alley was just there, and she just ended up there because she had unfinished business on Earth. But Emporio, yeah, those are all, everything that's in their room or in that alley are all things that previously happened or previous memories. Like, for example, when Emporio was explaining his ability, he literally said he can't drink anything or eat anything, as it just passes through him. Now let's talk about abilities, because I actually really do want to get to abilities, because I felt like their restrictions was probably the most interesting part about how ghosts work in JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Because, for example, they can only enter a room when it's empty or they have permission, but the permission is so loose that someone opening their door just to let some air in is permission. Someone opening their window just to see the sun better is permission. Someone opening a mail slot or a doggy door is permission for the right ghost. And that while they're in the room, even though they're naturally intangible, they have the ability to manipulate objects even though they can't like feel the physical. For example, let's say you're a ghost, you enter a random person's room, and they come into the room and y'all arms overlap. You just lost your left arm as a ghost. You're not getting that back, buddy. There's no way to get that back. You better hope and pray. Another cool thing with ghosts is, like, if you previously had them in your life, you can use it as long as it's not destroyed in the afterlife. The bad thing with Kira was, if you watched part 4, you remember Killer Queen was destroyed when he turned around on Ghost Girl's Alley. So yeah, he'll never get that back. Now, of all the ghosts we've seen, there are two types of ghosts: reverence and spirit cleansers. Now, those who die with grudges in their hearts become reverence, lingering out of sheer determination to accomplish a particular goal in front of a random regular person, and they can possess their entire body and take them over. So they're a ghost, but they're vengeful ghosts, which basically gives them a power boost. And y'all think I'm playing, but I'm dead ass when I say they essentially get a power boost, bro. Like, some of them may be bound to one specific location, like a town or like a cabin or area or whatever, right? But they may have the ability, if they're vengeful enough, they probably have the ability to manipulate your life in ways that you would never imagine. Now your nephew is on the chopping block and you thought he was safe. And the worst part is, they always linger until their grudge is gone. Their grudge has to be satisfied. They have to be satisfied with the evil work they put in just so that they could leave you alone, if you even exist anymore and you aren't a ghost along with them. Now, with spirit cleansers, that is a whole different story. That's a whole different ball game. Ghosts usually overpopulate the human world by nature, so some exist as spirit cleansers to purge the world of any spirits that cross their paths. Cleansers lunge towards any ghost people or objects they detect, attempting to eat their way inside their forms. Afterwards, they destroy the ghost from the inside by transforming into new life forms such as plants or insect. They can be killed either by cracking their eggs or inflicting damage on them with a ghost object. And by technically, since Yoshikage Kira is this, there kinda is a third form, which is just I guess hunters, spirit hunters, like it's Yu Yu Hakusho, bro. So some ghosts, just going off Yoshikage Kira and his relationship with the monk, because he was hired by the monk and he don't even know why, but some ghosts, they have the ability, like I said earlier, with all the parameters, They are given missions to go kill very bad people who do horrible, awful things. As Yoshikage Kira, the serial killer in life, ended up in the Dead Man Question spinoff killing a serial killer. Like genuinely, he ended up killing a serial killer. Granted, it didn't feel like he got much satisfaction from it or even cared that he was doing it. It felt like he was only doing it because he had nothing else to do. But that's the entire history of Ghost. At least that's everything we know about Ghost so far. When Araki gives us more spin-offs, which I have a feeling that at some point we will get more spin-offs about Ghost, I'll be sure to talk about it, probably make a YouTube video on it, and just chat with y'all. But if y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. And JoJo's Bizarre, yeah, him smelling like the stand, smelling like just pure flowers and earth and wood, like smoked wood or whatever the case is, that makes 100% sense. How else would it smell when the awakening literally came from grass rising when he was 5? Up next we have King Crimson, who I think smells like nothing. I think King Crimson smells like not a thing, mostly because Diablo is such a secretive person. He wouldn't want his smell to give off any type of tip or even to be noticeable or recognizable. So I think it either smells like nothing, or Diablo, he always switches out the fragrance of whatever he uses so that whenever you do smell him, it's a different fragrance and you can't immediately tell it's him. And that would make the most sense given how he was moving in part 5. He moved like a shadow throughout part 5 because, again, no one can notice him, smell him, really see him 90% of the time. Killer Queen probably smelled like the most generic, cheap fragrance you could find from Walmart or whatever Morio got. I know he'd be picking like the right fragrances just so he doesn't want to stand out, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I could see Killer Queen having like a elegant smell, I guess is the word. If I had to describe it, maybe like a lavenderish smell. But at the same time, knowing Kira, he will probably want the most average thing ever, just so, you know, he just looks like a normal person, which is also like, but I feel like that also furthers my like medical supplies theory, because I really genuinely truly think Crazy Diamond smells like medical supplies. Like, if in all honesty throughout this video, that is the one I'm almost certain of. But that's really all I got for y'all. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time. What are rock humans? A question I had personally when I was reading part 8, because I was very confused reading it for the first time. I saw these biologically inverse beings to humans who looked exactly like them, but had so many different properties that I felt, for one, this is so genuinely one of Araki's most insane ideas, and for two, one day, maybe, I'll become a content creator, a long form content creator, and make this video. And here I am today. Now, rock humans in part 8 usually serve the task as the antagonist role against the actual regular humans, as they are just the driving force that we see the fight. And it's like a fight Araki purposely wants to set up. He wants to set up humans versus rock humans. He even makes it abundantly clear that rock humans kind of serve as the opposite of humans. They are the reverse. They are the protection clause, whether or not humans, if humans went extinct, rock humans will always still be there. That's what they are literally meant for, you know. But in summary, rock human is the term used to describe creatures that evolved with silicone as the element they are primarily composed of. While in their original form, most biological activities come to a halt, and they're able to endure high and low temperatures, dryness, and other factors in nature. One of the defining characteristics of a rock human is that they are silicone-based organisms, unlike humans who are carbon-based organisms. And while these organisms are genuinely humans, there are the abilities of like rock animals, as I'm pretty sure we saw like a rock dog in part 8. You know, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. Also, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do is technically described as like a pet rock animal, you know. They also hibernate, which again is something very, very interesting. Animals or organisms that look like us and hibernate is something that I've always found interesting. When I read Part 8 for the first time, I was very confused on how it worked, because the hibernation was really something that just confused me in general. But basically, they sleep at different times. They can sleep anywhere from 30 to 90 days. It's at the minimum 30 days, and once they wake up, they don't sleep for 2 months. While hibernating, they don't breathe, and they basically just get air by like cracks on their outer layer. If necessary, they can sleep for 25 years, and they can survive under temperatures 950 degrees Celsius and as low as negative 240 degrees Celsius. Like, these organisms were just literally the fine print in case humans ever fucked up. And this is the part I find kind of the most interesting. Their body heat as well as their scent disappear while dormant, causing various fungi, moss, and even pearls to grow on their body. This means by which they harden into stone involve an intricate cell system that stores moisture within the interior of each cell and is protected by carbon-rich cell walls. Any item a rock human carries when he is hibernating will be covered with a hard membrane which tears off like a scab upon awakening. Imagine that. Imagine being an organism like a rock human, where when you sleep, you're gone for a month to 3. And by the time you wake up, you're just fine. In all honesty, I haven't even gotten to the actual abilities of rock humans, because most rock humans have literal natural abilities. Someone actually mentioned me making a rock human video after I made my I want to say Pillarman video, which, yeah, this is definitely needed, because I forgot how many just things went into the properties of the rock human organisms. Now to the natural biology of them, because we still are at the abilities. There are both male and female rock humans who procreate and give birth much like humans. Visually, there are no differences between them and humans, though their skin upon awakening appears slightly moist and damp. Rock human babies gestate for 6 months and are born in the spring or summer. At birth, they are extremely small, only 23 millimeters, 3/4 of an inch long. The mother typically abandons the child in the wilderness upon birth. The child is defenseless against predators, but is usually discovered by insects first. Among these insects may be giant hornets or wasps. The child will instinctively wait for one of these flying insects to attack, then grapple with it and hold on to the insect in the blind spot between the mandibles and the stinger. When the insect returns to the hive, the baby will seek out the queen and burrow into his body, keeping her alive while taking nutrients from the hive for years. Rock humans do not grow gradually, but molt their bodies once every 6 years. These transformations occur during their sleep, and for some unknown reason, the pose they make while asleep will change each time. It is believed rock humans can live up to 240 years. When a rock human dies, it leaves no corpse as it crumbles away into rocks. Now, biology aside, for those of us who have read Part 8 in this video, which I know for some reason most of you won't have read Part 8, but you'll still click on this video. I know who you are. I'm watching you. But when I got to this chapter, I was genuinely shocked. In all honesty, I was shocked and kind of frozen, because I was like, their survival tactics is so ridiculous. They are literal natural predators in the wild, and they survive by being parasites for the first 17 years of their life, because technically they don't go into the actual world until they're 17 years old, but they naturally learn everything like shapes, numbers, letters, how the human society and human biology works. Now, rock humans, they essentially eat everything, except mangoes. All of them are allergic to mangoes. If you want to kill a rock human, get a mango. They hold a certain level of appreciation greater than humans to like the earth, because they can live in whatever climate conditions or changes that the earth brings them. That's the whole reason they don't have a house or land usually. But they are also unable to coexist and mutually understand human society. Mainly because humans fucking suck and they're taking their land. Like literally, they think that humans just are horrible beings taking their land. Because, well, we technically are. They just live in the forest, you know what I mean? But some do join society. They join registries, get a social security card, you know, try to live in society, which is an awful choice. But, you know, because they hibernate for so long, they just don't go to school or hold regular jobs, so they have to get like odd jobs to where they can work at really odd hours or leave at odd times. And there's also one of my favorite facts about rock humans is the fact that they cannot fall in love with humans. If they get in a relationship with humans, there's a 97.5 chance it will end up in disaster. The breakups are usually said to end up in someone getting murdered. The most toxic relationship on the planet. I'm sorry. And the greatest difference between them and us is that they have no need for a community, whether it be family, blood, anyone. Honestly, if they are in groups, it's because they're using the people around them for whatever their personal gain is. Other than that, they don't really want to chat. They don't want to talk. They want to be left alone. You know, they just want to advance. All honesty. And finally, we are almost at the ending of this video, and we're going to talk about the two main abilities that almost all rock humans have. Well, for one, if you're a rock human, you have this, which is just rock skin, where, you know, you can shift your out-like appearance into a rock-like state almost at will. I'm pretty sure some of them can do it at will. I remember Toru doing it when he saw some animals, and like he let them, you know, try to get to his skin. It was like some mosquitoes or whatever. Then he literally hardened his skin and started taking their nutrients. And stands. 95% of rock humans are stand users. It says the reason for the high proportion of stand users in their population is likely due to members of the species considering stand unlocking areas such as the Devil's Palm and the Morio walleyes to their true habitat. Yeah, so if you run into one in the wild, you're probably cooked because they probably have some insane ass stand. And lastly, they just naturally go into, like, try to break into human society to the best of their abilities. At least that's what we saw in part 8. They'll naturally try to break into society for the best of their abilities to further the advancement of rock humans. That's literally how we get the antagonist of part 8, you know what I mean? But if you enjoyed this episode of Rock History with your host, Hokagekhi, who may or may not be a rock human, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. Glazing is something that follows across different anime. It really just follows into real life. I've been on the internet for about, hold on, what time is it? 4 to 5 hours now. And I've seen at least 20 different glazers. Some of them were even glazing me. I'm just a JoJo content creator. But that's why today we have to talk about more of the biggest glazers within JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Because man, oh man, there was a fair amount. And starting up first, Yukako. Now, she was tweaking, man. And honestly, when I watched part 4 for the first time and I saw her, I wanted her out of there. I did. I genuinely did. And there will be people in my comments like, how could you say that about this child, this 15-year-old? I can say that because she kidnapped the man who will become her future boyfriend to make him a better person. Let me go. If I'm Koichi, I'm not going for that. I'm sorry. I'm just not. Especially because he ended up saying, like, later, oh yeah, I really do like you for you. That just wouldn't be me, you know? It just couldn't be me, honestly. For the simple fact that if I get kidnapped, I'm going to the police, I'm never speaking to you again, probably getting a restraining order. Like, genuinely, it's not rare to see a character obsessed with their partner in an anime, but it is, I would be very afraid. If I was Koichi, I would be very afraid. But in all fairness, we do get a somewhat positive love story from them, especially like when they first get together at Cinderella's salon. And Koichi, he's like, oh yeah, take my eyes if I cannot pick the right one. You know, all noble and shit. And that's really what Koichi is, just a reliable guy. But her glaze of Koichi puts her very high. Very, very high on this list. Because when I first watched it, I thought once she got the white hair, that was just it. We wouldn't have to deal with her again. Because, man, she was creeping me out. You barely know this man, and now all of a sudden y'all are soulmates and you are kidnapping him. That is an issue, a very big one. Then up next we have Anasui, who is just the male version of Yokaku, except they're in jail and he's a murderer. But hey, he likes Jolene. He used to always make the scene so funny because he would take the smallest little inkling of maybe her looking at him for too long and he's going in for a kiss, he's talking all romantic, he's doing everything, all for him to just get either mushed in the face or catch up. Like, you're not getting that kiss, buddy. You ain't never get it during Stone Ocean. Granted, after Stone Ocean, he's definitely her fiance. If I can remember correctly, Irene said that they were going to go to their fathers, or her fathers, so like he could ask for permission, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I mean, at least he still got his happy ending, but man, he was something else. He was glazing out the ass. Like, anytime you actually see him on screen, I remember one time before he even left the prison, he was like, Jolene's in trouble? Oh no, this can't be. I gotta go help her. Like, calm down, buddy. Just chill out. Now, his stand, superb, peak, top tier, but he was acting very, very crazy at points. It was almost like, oh, I see why you're in jail. You know, I see why you're in jail. Especially when you remember his backstory, and it was literally, he had killed his ex-girlfriend and whoever she was cheating on him with after he came home and saw that. Like, he just immediately killed them with Diver Down. And I was fucking with him, but it was just like the worst times ever he would just pick to ask the most random questions. Like, when Made in Heaven, when Poochie just got Made in Heaven, and honestly looked to Jotaro and was like, can I marry your daughter? I have to ask. And Jotaro literally just looked at him and like he had 3 fucking heads and thought he was loopy. He thought he was crazy. Then I'm pretty sure Jolene faked him out, made it seem like she was about to go for a hug on Anasui, then hugged her father. Like, that's... Bro. Like, that's just different. That's... Do you know how sick I would be? We got maybe 2 minutes left. Not even. We got like a minute left. I would be sick if I'm anybody in this scenario. If I'm Jolene, I'm like, why is this nigga asking my father if he can marry me when we have never even dated? If I'm Anasui, I'm like, dang, Jolene really just hugged her father over me? And then if I'm Jotaro, I'm literally thinking, what the fuck is wrong with my daughter and this pink-haired freak? Lastly, this is a broad, very broad. I think it's the first time I've actually used a broad category, but this is a broad category, which is really just think of any of the Pillarman zombies. Wired Beck, we literally learned that he's just a misogynist and he loves lure cars. He says maybe 2 minutes of dialogue at most, and majority of that is about loving cars. And I really bring up the vampires in particular, like who were following the Pillarmen, because for one, they were regular people originally, and for two, they were just saying the most wild, you can't touch my master. How are you saying that to Joseph Joestar after you saw him kill one of your masters? How are you trying to kill Joseph Joestar after y'all all decided to do a 1v1? Your master lost, and now y'all are upset. Shut up. But I use Wired Beck as an example because he's literally one of the only ones we actually hear have any type of dialogue. And he's the one who literally turned himself into a door. He fused with a door that had more powers than I expected. They gave him the spikes all over. He was a little fast. He was able to cut through Joseph's clacker balls. You know, he did a little bit. It was enough to last for a chapter, and that's respectable. For a low-level vampire against the two strongest and greatest hormone users ever, I can't be mad. You know, I just can't be mad. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. You know, we're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. The Pillarmen baffle me. And if you cannot tell by those first 5 words, this is a Pillarmen video, but the Pillarmen baffle me because they're the second most interesting species within JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, but they all got wiped out by one super overpowered person within their species who made a way to amplify their power more, and they only got wiped out because they just didn't agree with his methods or his thoughts. This is a history of the Pillarmen video, you know. So we're really just going to be talking about the Pillarmen, everything pre-part 2. Because it's not that much, but it's some bit of information. And starting off, it says, the Pillarmen come from an ancient race of humanoids that possess extraordinary strength, intelligence, and lifespan. The race once ruled the earth, living at the top of the food chain and consuming humans who regarded them as either gods to be worshipped or demons to be feared. However, because of their great abilities and physique, the race followed the rule of evolution regarding the trophic level. The higher it evolved, the fewer its population became. They remained unable to overcome their adversity to sunlight, yet were content with their lives regardless. I should mention the fact that they were content with their lives was because they lived great lives. They literally ran the underground. They basically ran Earth at night. They just had to wait maybe 12 hours out of the day. You got to wait half your day. Oh man, y'all got it for right now. Just wait till nighttime comes and they start showing up in droves. Like, I'm sorry. I understand Cars was ambitious and he wanted his whole group to be in godlike kingdom. And he had no other choice than to kill them. But still, that just seems like the perfect setup. You know what I mean? You're 200 times better than humans. What are they going to do? Anyway, one among the tribe, named Cars, did not accept his kind's way of life and sought perfection. This led to Cars creating the stone mask to bring out his race's full potential through acupuncture. He found that the mask worked effectively on humans, though turning them into vampires, but the thickness of the species' gold only enabled the mask to partially unlock its full potential. The result was enhanced body manipulation, presumably unlocking the use of elemental body modes. And with an increased hunger, fearing the threat posed by Cars' genius, the tribe sought to execute him in order to maintain natural order. Cars ended up massacring most of his race, including his parents. As a result, only Cars and his co-conspirator ACDC and 2 infant children, who ended up being Wamu and Santana, were the sole survivors of their race. And in all honesty, I don't remember much of part 2, so like, it's always great when I do a part 2 video, so I have to research on stuff, but I didn't remember that was literally the reason they needed the red stone. You know what I mean? Like the flawless red stone. Their skulls were too thick for them to unreach their untapped full potential. I didn't know that. I just didn't know that. But that makes sense. You know, they're a perfect species. They're supposed to be far more advanced than humans, and them and humans come from around the same species. But even still, they had already fucked up when Cars had already given them the warning, hey, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make this mask. And then he did. Cause I'm pretty sure Cars gave him a warning, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this mask. All y'all, come on, let's all make this mask and go out to the sun. And they're like, nah, we good. We're chilling. We like being underground, eating fruit and shit, killing humans sometimes. You know, killing humans at night and shit. That's cool to us. We don't even need to be out during the day. Like, and it makes matters worse because Cars' main reason, like, he has like an actual reason, but his main reason was like world domination. we could be running the world right now. Why do we have to wait till nighttime? Like, and that's the part that gets me, bro. This nigga Cars was so arrogant, he didn't want to wait a few hours. He couldn't even wait a few hours. You know he probably got some human left over from last night. You know he probably got some human left over from last night, but he didn't want to wait till 6, 7? Like, bro was willing to kill his own parents for the dream. I respect it, though. They were rushing him. If my whole tribe says, you know what, you gotta go, you getting too powerful. I mean, I can't completely blame Cars in this situation because he gave them the warning. He tried to, have them all join and shit. But they were just like, nah, we peaceful and shit. Cars just wasn't a peaceful nigga. But let me continue on with the history. The 4 remaining Pillarmen first appeared in American and human history 5,000 years before battle tendencies, capturing hundreds of thousands of humans for experimentation with the stone mass. Cars found through his research that a flawless red stone of Ija, called the Super Ija, would be essential to perfect the stone mass and complete their transition into ultimate beings. To this end, Cars took AC/DC and Wamu to the old world while leaving Santana behind in Mexico. I literally just made a video about Santana because someone had asked me, they were like, why did Cars just leave Santana in Mexico? And why did Cars think of Santana as a guard dog? And that's for like a few reasons which make sense, but they don't. Like, you gotta think about it. Santana was one of the 2 infants. It was him and Wamu that were the infants, and Cars really liked Wamu because he could do something better than Santana, which was be a fighting genius. Santana was good, don't get me wrong. He was cool. He could fight, but he wasn't a fighting genius. Nor did Santana have like an extraordinary ability or power that really completely separated him from the last 3 remaining Pillarmen. Like him being left in Mexico with the Aztecs, I'm not surprised, you know what I mean? Because even when we saw him, he came back. This man got beat by Joseph Joestar. Like, no Lisa training Joseph Joestar. Beginning of part 2, Joseph Joestar. It was a reason Cars left him in Mexico. And it was a pretty damn good one. The 3 reached as far as Imperial Rome, where an emperor was rumored to possess a Super Ija, nearly wiping out the entire Ripple clan in the process. Unable to find the stone, the Pillarmen were forced to hibernate, fusing themselves into a stone wall hidden within a cave under the Colosseum near the 1st century AD. The wall itself was rigged by the Pillarmen as a trap to feed themselves on any greedy human while sleeping, as seen with Mario Zeppeli. That's Caesar Zeppeli's father, if y'all forgot. The Aztecs correctly predicted that the Pillarmen would reawaken in the year 2852 of the Aztec calendar, the equivalent of the year 1938. It also said that, while they were underground, sometimes they went under pyramids and, things like that, where the Mayans and the Aztecs, they would have sacrifices, and after the body was just dead, they would just throw the body down there, which would be another source of how they got food, which makes sense, especially for Santana, because he was the one who stayed there and ended up unfreezing in Mexico. But when I think about the Pillarmen, it's just they had everything directly disposable to them. It's the fact that this ancient, very ancient species was killed by one of their own kind because of their own arrogance. You know what I mean? Like, if the rest of the Pillarmen would have just been like, you know what, Cars, you are low-key our strongest, smartest, and fastest Pillarmen we have. We should probably listen to you. None of this would have happened. And when I say none of this, I literally mean anything within parts 1 through 6 would not have happened. If they would have just listened to Cars, this would have been a completely different story. Or Or if they would have snuck cars instead of thinking, oh, we're a mob, we could take them. Y'all ain't know what new experiments he had in his bag. He had a bag of goodies just waiting for when someone tried them. And they did. Now, this nigga got stone masks. One for him and one for his co-conspirator. And now the strongest are now multiplied. But in all fairness to Cars, he did know what he was talking about. That ultimate being, when he finally eventually got it after 102,000 years of being alive. When he finally got it, he was unaffected by sunlight, had complete immortality, able to reshape his body on a cellular level to that of any kind of human, plant, or animal, and he was able to just use Ripple. Meaning, yeah, he deadass conquered the sun. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. You know, we're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. Restoration's the name of the game, and today we're going to talk about Josuke Higashikata's stand, and more so, what I would do with it. Crazy Diamond. Now, like every other video in this series so far, which if you haven't seen, there is a playlist now that you could just watch all of them, because y'all love this series in particular. But with every video in this series, we always go through the abilities of Crazy Diamond. Now, looking at this, it has one ability. One non-physical ability, honestly. But I'll still go through them. Super Strength. I don't really have to explain to you what Super Strength is. You know what Super Strength is. Same with Super Speed. But let's talk about the precision. According to Jotaro, it can effectively fire off a rifle bullet from its fingers up to 50 to 70 meters when Josuke concentrates. Thus, Crazy Diamond is a powerful stand in close quarter combat whose capabilities are enhanced by its unconventional power by repairing broken things, making a redoubtable and unpredictable stand in a fight. Then, of course, down here, there's the power of restoration, but I feel like we all somewhat understand this power enough, honestly. It can repair the damage, heal injuries, revert chemical changes, and complex structures to the raw components, e.g. a plate of spaghetti back into its raw ingredients. It may also fuse objects, for example, a person with a rock. When restoring a divided object, the user is able to control which part act as the starting points for the rest to gather towards. Feats of this nature include trapping an enemy by restoring parts of a broken crate around him, exposing a stand formerly bound to by an object, and tracking by restoring a severed hand, forcing it to seek out and reattach itself to the body from which it was cut off. If this ability is used while Josuke is in a foul mood, its target may become warped as a result of improper restoration. I.e., you're going to end up like fucking Angelo Rock. And these are the three things Crazy Diamond cannot heal. Confirmed. It cannot cure illnesses, as victims are not considered damaged. Retrieve things erased by the hand. Or restore life to a dead organism. Those are the only three bounds that we have with this stand. I want to make that clear and known before I actually just start talking about it. Because man, oh man, wouldn't you love to have a stand where you could essentially do anything and fix anything, and you would basically not have to spend money on almost anything. If you wanted to become a world famous engineer or a mechanic, you could, because again, the ability of restoration is breaking down the parts of whatever it was, restoring it back to its original form, right? But as we've seen with Josuke, if he was to be shown a car, or if he was to be put a bike right in front of him, he could punch it and that would immediately break every piece. And I bring this analogy up every time we go, but again, the cheating analogy, this would probably be the one where you're just for sure not getting caught. Because again, if you're walking by someone who's smarter than you's desk, or whoever, you see someone got 100, you could use Crazy Diamond to theoretically take the ink off of their paper and then turn it in as yours and then put your name on it. Anything like maintenance related, you really wouldn't have to fix, especially if it's on a machine. What? Are you kidding me? You don't understand how many times I'm finna punch my car anytime it starts fucking up. I'm finna have to restore the engine to its original form. What are we talking about? Like, genuinely, what are we talking about? I don't even have to bring up what you could do with it in case of fights, because again, That's a lot, and we saw that throughout all of part 4. Josuke used very creative ways to fuck up people's lives just because he was angry that they talked about his hair, or whatever the case is. It also kind of ties into your emotional state. Like, it's mentioned that when Josuke gets super angry, he can decide how, like, the restoration works and how it morphs. So if he were to morph your face but not completely, yeah, kind of like how he did that bully, like the first bully at the start, and he changed his nose after he basically broke his nose. He could do that. It's pretty free. Do you know how much money you could theoretically make though? Like, obviously you could become a town doctor, healing any bunches of injuries and all that. But as soon as you hit an illness, you're low-key cooked. On top of that, you would never have to use like any excuse when it comes to like papers or pictures or anything. You could, with one punch, dead ass fix it. Oh, my dog ate my homework. Are you sure?
Sing day.
Are you sure?
One of my main reasons for using it though, let someone say something to me. I'm turning you into a chair, and I'm not fixing it completely. I'm gonna mess it up. The same way Josuke did Angelo, I'm gonna do you. Why not? You could buy all your stuff cheap, you know, like when you online shop, because theoretically all you have to do is punch it. Like, for example, let's say you buy a new controller for like $10 and it's horrible, but you just punch it and now it's back to new condition. You could do that theoretically for almost anything. You could do that to take stains out of your fucking clothes. If it works as the same logic as Josuke or Crazy Diamond taking ink off of paper, yeah, you could kind of take stains off of almost anything. Like, anything that was stained, you could probably fix. If you had that stain, you should be living lavishly. Everything you have should be damn near brand new. Unless it's something like unless it's something that literally cannot be replenished by Crazy Diamond's fist. It should be and look brand fucking new. Like, you should never have to struggle to buy a TV. You know what I mean? Or if you're going somewhere, you know, you should never be worried about a wall or a roadblock stopping you. You know you could punch down that wall and put it back up. Or better yet, if I were to sum it up, you could basically do anything and just fix it, as long as it's fixable. And with your stand, almost anything is. But really, that's all I got for y'all. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time. There are many stands most people wish to see or wish to have. If you were to have one of those stands, however, what would you do with it? Would you do a basic thing? Would you become a hero or a villain? Are you using it to rob people? Are you going off the deep end and becoming mentally insane because you now have this enigma always on the left of your shoulder? Either way, it's a lot. And that's why today, to continue the series, I'm going to talk about what I would do with sticky fingers. Now, I did a poll. I asked, and like, I'm pretty sure sticky fingers was the most liked. And I've also heard y'all can repeatedly ask me, can you please do sticky fingers? So don't worry about it. I got y'all. Now with sticky fingers, it's a very different situation than the other ones because I really don't have to go through the abilities. I actually went through the ability page just now. It's been like 5 minutes since I recorded that last clip, and yeah, it's just zippers. And if I start explaining how zippers work, we know how zippers fucking work. We all watched part 5, at least I hope we did. If you're watching this video, I hope you did. If you didn't, what the hell are you doing? Click off, go watch part 5, then come back to the video whenever you finish it. Hopefully, it's within a fucking day. But sticky fingers, it's one of the best stands I would say you would want to have in real life, because like other stands that I've talked about before, honestly, I don't even really have to bring up the cheating thing, not yet at least, but one of the first things I would do with sticky fingers is be lazy as shit. You're telling me I can theoretically put zippers on anything I want to, and I can open them at will, open and close them at will, so that they can serve as damn near portals. Let's say, for instance, I'm in my room and it's on like the foot upstairs. It's upstairs, and I just punch the ground. If I wanted to, I could go straight downstairs just that way, you know. Or if I need to get out of any place at any time, or get something out of any place at any time. Let's say if you're one of those people who you're in class, all right, and you dead ass need to go to the bathroom, but your teacher's not letting you. You don't got to worry about having your teacher's approval anymore. If you open the zipper on the floor under you, you can easily slide out of class. And in the inverse way, you can do that to anything. Other people you don't like, yourself, any doors, walls, TVs, just anything. If someone were to piss you off and you were feeling extraordinarily spiteful that day, you could put a zipper on their TV, the controller, their PS5, and just unzip all of it and leave it unzipped. Or like if you're at school, you could like, if someone has like a cup of water, which this isn't something I would necessarily do, but I was just thinking of ideas. If someone had like a cup of water, they were annoying you, you could put a zipper on the bottom of the cup or on the side. Now you don't got no water. Talking all that shit. Sticky fingers is kind of one of those stands I'll use more if like, I need to go someplace or I need to get out of something. Someone's talking to me a lot. As soon as they turn around, just and then I'm gone. There's also the fact that you can hide stuff within the zippers, which is really, I feel like that's the biggest thing. You have your own fucking safe that in literal terms, you're the only person that can access it. Because, for example, when Bruno had sticky fingers, at one point he was hiding things in his face. Like, he would unzip his face, a phone falls out. What? So basically you could turn into your own book bag, or you can turn anything into your own book bag, honestly. And no one would be able to find it, especially if it's like something that's just not meant to be open. Like a box. Or this foam roller. Like, really think about it. Like, I just saw this in my room. I could put a zipper right here. You ain't never gonna know. Because also the fact the zippers do disappear, and they can disappear. They disappear quite often, I'm pretty sure that's also by Bruno's will, or whoever's using sticky fingers, their will. They can make the zippers visible or non-visible. But even then, I'm just saying, I can make a makeshift safe out of anything. I have the ability to, if I needed to, I could hide in somebody's body, because we did see that at one point. Also, in the event of like accidents, like let's say you're in a car crash, you can get out of that pretty easily. You just gotta open the zipper from the inside of your door. Like, you're driving, chilling, out of nowhere, car coming right, it's about to hit the side of the wall. The number one way I would probably use it though, to just run through walls. And you may be like, what do you mean? We see it's a few times, especially, but like in the Seiko fight especially, this man Bruno was able to bring things underground using Seiko stand, but he could also run underground because he kept using his stand to open the soil. I am definitely doing that. Now granted, I probably won't be able to breathe because again, I'm going to be running through fucking concrete walls or whatever material walls I'm going to be running through, but it'll be worth it while all of you are halted by roads and rules and hallways. I'm going to be going through walls, trees, forests, seas, sharks, bears, tigers. My 8th grade math teacher, my 9th grade biology teacher. Like, sticky fingers is such an excellent stand because it's so much things I can hide, so many places I can go, so many ways I can creatively use a zipper, a infinite zipper in real life, that if I wanted to, at very willing lengths, I can chop someone's body up. I'm not saying I would. I'm not saying I would do that at all. I'm just saying that stand has the literal capability. That's the part of the reason why I feel like in real life it would be excellent to have. Let's say if you were one of those people who stole things and you're walking by somebody, you could easily plant a zipper on their pocket and just easily zoop. They wouldn't even know. Like, I've said a few stands would be a criminal's best friend, but sticky fingers, I really mean it. Because not only is it super easy to steal, but now whenever you're being chased down, you can easily just zip through walls. Like, zip through a person. Even though it's pretty fucked up. Zip through a person. And you can hide whatever you stole in such a place that no one will be able to find it, because no one else will be able to open it. Like your fucking face. I'm sorry, I still cannot get over the fact that with sticky fingers, you could theoretically hide you can hide your whole wallet, money, social security card, all that. Who's going to figure out it's in your fucking head? Literally. But that's really all I got for y'all today. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. You know, we're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. Paisley Park is one of the best stands that you could probably have in real life. Its abilities to give you choices and decisions factored on whatever situation you're going through in real life is something that is so valued that I would definitely need that. Paisley Park has 4 abilities: guidance, memory influence, electronics manipulation, and shape-shifting. But in those 4 abilities, all 4 of them literally build upon one another in order to help Paisley Park get their user to where they need to go. Starting with the first one, guidance. Paisley Park's primary ability involves assisting individuals significant to Yashio in finding and researching destinations more expeditiously or escaping perilous situations. Paisley Park has, for example, manipulated a phone's GPS application, the results of a web search engine to enhance the efficiency of her investigations, and investigated a chain of events allowing Yashio to bypass security clearance through mistaken identity. Paisley Park can also separate from its user and go as far away to help another ally in need. When Paisley Park was discovered, it displayed a time-limited choice on her cell phone and laptop. After selecting an option, the stand provides her with the item that she asked for which then comes in handy later. For example, the choice of a flashlight results in Paisley Park giving it to Yashio, which then illuminates the location of something else she ended up needing a few minutes later. The stand offers a choice whenever Yashio needs to solve a problem, despite whether or not she's aware of what's going to happen, but doesn't act when Yashio is too slow to choose. In all honesty, just going through the first ability, I can see how helpful that could be in real life. You're telling me I could be in a situation I don't even know about, and then my stand would just come up to me, yo, choose between this item or that item on your phone or laptop. Like, that shit will have a ladder up there, then it'll have a fucking, it'll just have a regular phone. It'll be a ladder and a regular phone. You choose the regular phone, now next thing you know, 5 minutes later, you need to call 911. But the second ability, memory influence, Paisley Park has shown several times to refresh another person's memory, which would lead them to do something they'll end up helping the user. This was shown among other times where Paisley Park traveled to Josuke from a very far distance to remind him to call Yashio. Along with that, there's electronics manipulation, where it says, although it mainly resides in our cell phone, Paisley Park enables Yashio to interact with various electronics at a level beyond humanly possible. Paisley Park can hack into various electronic devices with ease and use them to help Yashio in her investigations or any other activity she's focused on, bypassing any security they have. For instance, it could break into the data servers of the local police to identify Dolomite by linking a tooth to medical records and dental prints. It can also travel through computer networks from Yashio's mobile phone in order to interact with other systems without being near the hardware. This particular ability is portrayed by Paisley Park as going through endless corridors full of doors and breaking locks. At a more basic level, Paisley Park can delete/wipe files such as images or videos from other phones if Yashio wills it. Paisley Park also seems to be able to copy certain technological abilities. For instance, she is shown using her hand as an X-ray to find pieces of rock in Yashio's face. And finally, shape-shifting. Paisley Park can freely change its shape. It can shift from a three-dimensional humanoid into a flat, shadow-like figure, or even a formless puddle. The ability isn't limited to shape alone, as it was able to turn its head around into a globe. changing usual road map symbols into the map of the earth and then into the map of a town. So all those abilities read and set out. I can say this, Paisley Park might be my new #1 stand to have in real life. Bro, I'm sorry, but that literally means, especially in this world, this digital world we see right now, any mistake you were to make on the internet, you can easily just wipe it from anyone's phone, which is ridiculous. Like, let's say your best friend, he has a couple bad photos of you from when y'all were younger. Do you know how easily and how quickly I would call Paisley Park to just, hey, go wipe that off his phone? and Paisley Park will do it. They'll do it. They have no problem just going through people's phones or iPads or cars just to figure out how to get it out of there. And plus, Paisley Park, it kind of reminds me somewhat of Moody Blues just because of how much of an investigative stand it is. Like, literally, the ability to have your stand go somewhere else or go into somebody's car and literally recognize and relay back to you all the road maps to lead to that person is ridiculous. Or the fact that if you're looking for somebody, you could deadass have your stand just go through all the security cameras within the city and get back to you. Because again, Paisley Park can do that. Paisley Park can literally, as I've just read, literally find a tooth from a fight y'all had, go into your dental records, go into the local police station, go into anything that's supposed to be classified information. It's not. Not to mention the fact that you almost majority be safe from like super dangerous situations because your stand knows way before you when it's going to happen. So it just gives you two choices. Now, if you're a dummy and you don't pick one, then you're just on your own. I mean, I could say Paisley Park would just take away the functions you would need for most, things on your phones. Like if you're trying to search something and you're in a situation, Paisley Park got you. They're going to streamline you the solution right off your phone. Or if you're getting into a car and you're trying to chase someone down, but you don't know where they're at, Paisley Park got you. Let them tap into surveillance real quick. Then they got the GPS. They got the route straight to them. It's also just the fact that your stand can copy other technological abilities. Like if you were injured in a fight, quick little x-ray, you're good. You know what I mean? Like having Paisley Park essentially means you have a helping built-in buddy that's right next to you, but also knows slightly into the future and knows what situation you're going through without you knowing it all the time. And as the years progress, especially since Party has came out, I feel like Paisley Park has only gotten more and more helpful. Because the way I think about it, right? Because as someone who's still in high school, let's say I need that paper. I do this example a lot, but just to show y'all how easy it would be to cheat on a test. Let's say I need that paper off the teacher's desk. I'm like, yo, Paisley Park, show me the answers real quick. Because we're taking a test on a computer? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because all I gotta say is, Paisley Park, show me the answers. Or Paisley Park might do it before I even ask for anything and just pop it up on my computer and be like, this is the answer. This is the test. I got you. Like, genuinely, do you know how great it would be to have Paisley Park and then you go on to search something on the internet, you're not just giving a bunch of bullshit answers. Like, you go to search something on the internet and you actually get your answer the first time you search it. That would be so fantastic. Or you're going to watch social media. You're on social media and you're searching something through it, and then as you search, it gives you what you were looking for the first time you searched. That is what makes Paisley Park so fan-fucking-tastic. Its technological capabilities, like copying technological abilities, hacking anything, and me being able to access anybody's personal data. So if I wanted to, I could be like the next Anonymous and be the biggest hacker of all time. I don't know. I just feel like it's such a great stand. And I hear some people say this, but I kind of feel the same way. It's literally like internet, the stand. It's literally like a stand version of the internet. You just now have everything at your fingertips. Like if I told my stand to turn into a fucking map that can grab and hold like this, it would. That is how good Paisley Park is. It would. But that's really all I got for y'all today. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. Those are our adventures characters. And If you have not seen the first installment, you might want to go see it. I've covered a few characters who are some of the most hateful characters within JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, but I thought to myself, why not start that series back up? And that's why we're here. And who better to start with than Alessi? Now, if you don't remember Alessi, consider yourself lucky. There was definitely a time, where I forgot about him. I had finished the series, I forgot about him. Then I rewatched the series and I saw him again. I was like, oh, it's that children hating fuck. The thing with Alessi that makes him just so hateful is the fact that he hates everybody, but he's afraid of grown men. Meaning that he will specifically target women and children in his evil plots to just ruin someone's day. Or if they just bump into him. Because they're easily picked on. That's why his stand is what it is. The ability to turn anyone into a fetus or a child or whatever age he sets for them. Being a grown man and taking sick enjoyment in children's screams is something that should get you put on a registry. It really should. But he wasn't, and because he was a mercenary traveling along Egypt, but even still, his stand is just so ass. Like, it's bad because we, as the viewer, know that the stand is the manifestation of the soul. So, when you really think about it, that means his soul has to be like one of the most vile, evil, cowardly, disgusting ones. And his personality conveys that pretty fucking well. Like, I'm sorry, but acting like a coward in front of all these people just so you can trick an adult man into turning them into a kid, and then you still lose. Like, the fact that he was bragging about the fact that he turned Jotaro into a kid and, oh, he doesn't have Star Platinum. You thought that would stop Jotaro from giving you the hands? You thought 9-year-old Jotaro, the grandson of someone who was 6'2", it says he was 170 at 19, but in reality he looked like 225. His great-great-grandfather, who was 6'5", 250. But to make matters worse about Alessi, he would justify himself just by, like, his own mind, his own irrational thoughts, and just be like, oh yeah, I'm not crazy, I'm not wrong. Yes, you are. You are a crazy, sick fuck. If it was up to me, after I beat your ass, I would have made sure we sent you to a mental hospital so your brain can be studied for science, you bitch. Okay, up next we got Chocolata. Now, that's just pure evil. Hatred, evil, whatever you want to call it. I can't make a list, especially the second part, without adding him in, because he was downright the most or second most hateful villain within the entire series. Like, it was insane. And if he's not top 2, he's definitely up there pretty high, because he literally did everything he did out of enjoyment. He enjoyed causing people pain. He's a psychopath. He would literally, he turned one of his test subjects into Seko, who whatever the fuck he is, and he would just be recording him doing horrible things, playing with people's insides. And to make matters worse, they're elderly people. It's not like there's someone in their physical prime to where they could maybe potentially rebuild their life after this. No, he's giving you literal lifelong issues for fun. He's literally mentally tormenting you. Like, it would, for the love of the game, it would be times he's not even touching you. He just comes to you like, yo, your family don't love you, and then walk away. Like, I can't imagine being 78. No one's coming to visit me in my nursing home. I'm getting wheelchaired around, and this fucking 15-year-old comes to me. You fat, lazy, your family don't love you, your life is worthless, you should kill yourself. You should. Just let me know. I record it. Like, come on, bro. And then, on top of that, once he got moved up, he just started randomizing it. It didn't matter if you were young, old, male, female, don't matter. You know why? He's gonna look at your chart like, oh, usually just a little bit. Okay. Let's go for a lobotomy. And to make matters worse, he makes sure your anesthesia is not at the right dosage. So midway through him working on whatever he's working on, you're going to wake up and be like, where's my lung? You don't know what he's taking. He could deadass cut your chest down the middle, take out your lung, and then have you wake up in the middle of it. For no reason. Pure evil, pure hate. I bet you Diablo only let him join Passion because he needed more pure haters. Pure haters like him. Speaking of him, let's talk about Diablo. He has to be the one to end off this episode because I'm pretty sure last episode I was tossed up between Diablo and John A. because both of them were pure fucking haters. When you look up the definition of hate, there's only two images that may come up. Dio and Diablo. Both of them hold a very special level of hate, but I have Diablo maybe just a notch above him because he hated everything to the point where he was willing to have his own daughter killed. Innocent 15-year-old dead. And just the idea of his image going out to the public, anyone who even thought of it was almost as good as gone. Gone. And even after his death, he technically completed his true goal. No one ever knew his identity. Now, that is not Diablo's true goal, but at least no one ever knew his identity. He'll just always be known as Unmarked Man 45,000 that floated in the fucking river near Italy and died. But seriously though, like, the amount of hate you have to put your own mother underneath a church right near your priest who takes care of you, and she's still alive, but she was tormented. We still don't know what he did to her. And then after your priest finds out, we can only presume you killed him right then and there with the pickaxe. Then you burn down the whole village. Great. Genuinely, even though Dio has done horrible things, when he was that young, he ain't do that. He burned down the Joestar estate, but he ain't burned down a whole village. What the fuck? Like, he kills anyone who just pisses him off. Like, did we forget that too? He killed a random fortune teller on the street. Even though he himself, not Diablo, Doppio, he should have called Doppio then and there and told him, yo, walk away. Because if he knew that he was about to tweak, he should at least let Doppio get the chance to at least walk away. No, he just starts tweaking. Diablo has so much hate in his heart, he does not even need family ties. He hates family ties. He wants no ties to anyone in this world and only wants to stand above everyone else. Like, he sees regular people as inferior. That's how much hate is ingrained in his fucking heart. That's ridiculous. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. Characters are meant to be forgotten within the series. That's just the natural way of life. That's how things go. And if you watch the title, you know this is the third installment. You heard me correctly. Third installment. First installment in 4 weeks of forgotten characters in JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Now, originally, I'll be honest with y'all, I was going to stop doing the series because I didn't think I could find that many. But I found some more where they have just enough to where I feel like I could stretch out a 2-minute segment for them. But I will say this, there are a lot more minor characters than were in the last part at least. Because the last part, it had, Joseph's adoptive daughter. And, a lot of people know her. And that was part of the reason why I made the last part. A lot of people asked for another part. It's because they wanted her to be in it specifically. But this time, to start it off, we have someone who was in the actual series for a very, very short amount of time. Wired in the series for a very, very short time. But their namesake, Jeff Beck. And from his album Wired is how you get the name Wired Beck. I'm just trying to pad time here, man. They aren't that interesting. Now, he's a simple disciple under cars. You know, it says here with his history, Wirebeck was a fugitive convicted for strangling his girlfriend. After breaking out, he eventually became one of Kara's servant vampires. As a vampire, Wirebeck had the unique ability to grow spikes all over his body. So, at least he had that. He also had the ability of intangibility. So, yeah, he can camouflage and stuff, which is nice. But we see Wirebeck for the first time trying to prevent Joseph Joestar and Lisa Lisa from reaching his master Car's door. Literally emerging out of a door, he surprises Joseph, who first believed him to have 10 fingers on one hand, only to realize it was a part of his power. Wirebeck comes out the door and confronts Lisa Lisa, who uses her ripple scarf, which, if you remember that scene, it's a pretty memorable scene, on him before walking off. Joseph explains that Lisa Lisa had already killed him by exposing him to the ripple. But before Wirebeck is fully able to question it, the attack takes effect and he dies instantly. I mean, there's a reason why he was fucking forgotten. I'm pretty sure he was made just to show the bolstering power Lisa Lisa pertained within her, especially at this point with her being extremely pissed for the way Caesar died. But at least he had a backstory. Now, I will say this, his ability and the fact that he's pretty fast all couples the fact that he's users that we saw when Harmon was mainly used. Up next, let's talk about Bruno's father, Pablo Bucciarati. And in all honesty, usually when I make this series, I don't include family members, but you know what? Pablo, he did enough to where I feel like I can talk about him. Now, Pablo Bucciarati, he was 10 years into his marriage in 1987 when it started to fall apart, break, combust, whatever words you would like to use for just to let that know. That shit was broken. So they sat down with Bruno and asked him where he wanted to live, and Bruno eventually chose his father rather than his mother because he knew that his father would be so horribly sad and depressed alone in the country while his mother was just going to the city. Now, after finding out his son wants to live with him, he worked his ass off, like taking tourists all around in his boat or just going fishing and being a fisherman just so he could pay for Bruno's tuition so he could get a great education. Now, one day, 5 years post-divorce, he's taking these two men onto an island in Italy, right? And he thinks one of them stupid because they left their fishing rods in here, you know, they're going fishing, right? No. A drug deal was happening, and he was the unfortunate soul who accidentally walked in on it. And since he accidentally walked in on it, the gangsters could not let that slide and lit him up like a Christmas tree. It was pretty sad, all the way until he survived. Actually, I'm pretty sure he got at least 5 shots. Yeah, it says 7 bullets pierced his arm, shoulder, chest, and torso, and he was left by dead but saved by a Coast Guard ship. Which, again, how often does that happen in JoJo? Usually, if you're shot that many times, you're just done. Unless you're Mista. And as some of you know, especially if you watch my videos, I made a whole video about Bruno Bucciarati. Bruno did what he had to do to make sure his father survived his nights in the hospital, including killing 2 gangsters. But that action and those actions would lead to Bruno joining Passion so he would have protection from them going after his family, essentially, because again, his father just lived there. He ain't do nothing, and his father ended up getting to live a peaceful enough life all the way until 1997, where he passed away due to complications from the bullet shots. It wasn't peaceful enough because I'm pretty sure by the time he passed away, he was still in his early 40s, so it was probably kind of painful, probably really painful. We should probably move on. And to end it off today, we have Father Styx from part 1. Now, I would like you to guess which part in part 1 was Father Styx in. Don't worry, if you ask me that same question, I would look at you like you were fucking stupid. He was in the part where Dio's coffin is opened, but it's opened on the ship. And the little that we do know about him really pertains to him telling 2 other priests that he was planning to go to Mexico to spread his religion. And the priests wishing him luck and him getting piss drunk. Like, piss drunk. If I could find a good cover picture, that would probably be the cover picture of this video. Just him being pissed drunk. He'll be one of the 3 people up here. But it says that Styx accidentally dropped his rosary while drinking and walking around the ship. It falls through a grate, landing in a cargo hold. He contemplates leaving it there, but realizes he has no choice but to pick it up since it's his tool of trade. He heads down to the cargo hold and retrieves his rosary on top of a shiny box. Intrigued, he expects it, assuming it's a safe, but realizes it's strangely unlocked. Taking a closer look, he noticed that it's actually locked from the inside. And that's a bad thing to notice, because immediately after that, a metal ball above the lock shoots out from the coffin and obliterates his head, making his eyeballs fly out and his body flying. Wang Chan opens the box afterward, revealing it contains Dio Brando's head. Should've just drunk your wine and kept it pushing. Some things just aren't worth getting. And some things aren't worth being curious about. Me personally, if something of mine ever falls, especially if I'm on a ship, if it ever falls, and it's something that I feel like I don't care too much about. Like, I understand that was his choice of the trade. That was his tool of the trade. Great. You can't get another one in Mexico? Because if you knew what you was walking into going down there, you just wouldn't have went down there. You and I both know that. Like, you just wouldn't have went down there. You would have kept it pushing, enjoyed your little buzz, enjoyed you being drunk, woke up with a headache, a throbbing one, a nice hangover, and then, kept it pushing. Well, you probably wouldn't have woke up. That ship did burn down. But at least you could spend the last moments of your life in a drunken daze while flames dance around you. When in reality, you're just being burnt alive, but you're so drunk that you don't care. Ish. But that's all I got for y'all. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. This is probably the last video of a replay past events with utmost precision, allowing the user to freely conduct investigations. On top of that, Moody Blues can transform into any person of the user's choosing, and it has a digital. It can go back to as far as years, possibly decades, but the further in the past it goes, the longer it takes to fully remember the event, meaning it can leave the user defenseless for 8 to 10 minutes. But you're in real life, so you probably don't have to worry about that unless you're in a situation that you would need defense for. What are you out here doing? I heard about you. You see me? I heard about you. Every event happening to a particular location or person will be exactly recreated by Moody Blues. Meaning, when Moody Blues was reenacting Narancha's past, he produced music because Narancha was listening to some. And to make it even better, you don't even know who you're replaying. All you need to do is be in the exact location of wherever it was ghost, or be around the location. The replay can be controlled like a video, like you're watching this video right now. You can pause it, rewind it, fast forward, all of it. You're basically watching YouTube in real life. Speaking of which, you should subscribe. But to add on one final thing it can do, it can imitate the form of someone for a limited time. For example, if you're in a cockpit and you're trying to imitate a pilot, it would imitate the pilot that was there or flying in that plane at one point. Now, with all those abilities out the way, what did you learn? That there's only one thing that is wrong with that stand, which is the fact that it is vulnerable when it's remembering things. Other than that, it is almost perfect to have in real life. Let's say you lost your wallet. What? You lost it in your house? Okay. Moody Blues. Hey, run a rewind of the past like 4 hours, maybe 5. Any item you ever lose, you would be able to regain so fast, it's ridiculous. The only time you wouldn't is if you're traveling at some point and you're on like a car. Have your stand copy that professional so you have a visual aid right in front of you so you can take notes, pause it, rewind it. Like, imagine walking into a place with so much history, like the White House. Then you can know all the unknown and undocumented habits and crimes of the previous and current presidents that we have in America. It would be interesting. Even though, like, 5 minutes into it, no, 5 seconds into it, you're just getting sniped off a random tower. But at least you can say you tried. Like, you'll be able to uncover so many secrets if you just went to the right places. Like, I know the White House thing was a joke, but like, real shit, our presidents are weird. Like, how many have we had? 47? Yeah, 47 technically. Okay, we've had 45 men serving 47 presidencies. And plus, you could become whoever you wanted to. In real life, honestly. Like, imagine you're watching, let's say, a sport. You want to be a skater, you know? You're watching Tony Hawk, old Tony Hawk clips. And you have Moody Blues in front of you imitating your TV. So then you decide to go to the park since Moody Blues had already recollected the video. And while you're at the park, you have Moody Blues do it. And you just copy your stand. Like, do you know how crazy that would be? Or you're playing basketball and you have your stand copy one of the best basketball players of all time. Like, imagine you watch a YouTube video. You watch an entire game. You know, KD's playing, you know, Bron's playing. Home, you have your stand, copy that from like a day or two ago. And now you're copying the exact same moves they were doing, trying to perfect exactly what they were doing, pausing and rewinding. It would be like the greatest study help of all time. Like, immediate study help. And even if you wanted to go the other route and cheat, again, a very easy feat. But really, that's all I got for y'all. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And also, big announcement, we have just been monetized. You may have seen some ads on my videos, but thank y'all. I can never express my gratitude enough. Really, thank y'all. And until next time, peace. I've talked about many stands on this channel by now. As y'all know, I've been posting consistently even before the new year has begun. So by this point, there has just been so many of, I think, close to the 200 stands I could talk about. But I've never, not once, made an official video about this one stand. That, now that Steel Ball Run is coming out, it's a perfect time to make one. That stand is Hey Ya. Listen, bro. As overlooked as it may be, as forgotten as it may be from some Steel Ball Run fans and on, and people who have even read the manga, it is a fantastic stand to have in real life because it's like built-in motivation and luck. Now, one thing to know about the stand for sure is that it doesn't do anything like anything else. It doesn't do anything else. Like, it just gives you luck. It gives you motivation. It gives you courage. You know, it helps you with your path and whichever path you choose. But if you need it in a fight, or you're in a trouble that requires any type of physical labor or even magical circumstances, yeah, you're shit out of luck, usually. Because you won't even be in that type of trouble because Hey Ya will tell you, like, maybe a few hours before then, yo, we not going over there. And you have the complete free will to either go over there or not go over there. Because if you go over there, it's almost guaranteed something bad is going to happen. And if you don't, you'll just be fine. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, like, it's a misconception that it improves your luck, which I'm not completely sure 100% if it does or doesn't. But I do know 100% that the stand itself can look a little bit into the future. You can't, but the stand can. Which, basically, the stand is basically like a built-in best friend. Like, imagine you need a little bit of help. You know, you're at the gym. You've been going through your workout, but it's just getting harder as you go, and you're almost done. You're on your last rep, and you just hear someone in the distance. You got this. Come on. Come on. And now your stand is spotting you. Like, really think about it. All the things you do throughout the day, how many times do you need motivation? How many times do you need encouragement that no one's giving you? Now you just have someone who lives on your back and, you know, always does that for free. And they give you helpful tidbits of advice like, don't go over there. Don't check in that door. Just walk the other direction. Like, this stand was so helpful, it let Poco Loco, his stand user, avoid all of the various pit traps and falls and just gunshots he could have ran into on the race. Hell, Poco Loco could have ran into Ringo Road again, and we would have been spinning an entirely different story of Poco Loco just being dead on Ringo's porch. Poco Loco could have been in way different positions, and granted, a lot of the racers, they made it out just fine, like Norisuke, I think, the first Norisuke, Higasuka, whatever. What I'm saying basically is he could have been in an entirely different situation that could have been way worse for him. But perfect luck and really his stand helping guide him and him listening to his stand actually led him to winning the steel ball run race and leaving with a wildly large chunk of change, making him become beyond what he was, which was a sharecropper. Which, you know, that's always great to see. A nice come up story. But it's just perfect for real life because so many people need motivation. In this world, there are so many depressed people that you see, even when you scroll on social media. So many people who could never find motivation, could never figure out what to do with their lives or how they should live or what they should do to even achieve goals that they dream about or think of. And then you just have this stand that exists and can help you not only get on track, but know what you want to do. A nice push in the right direction for those who really need it, which a lot of people really do need it. And plus, think about other stands. Like, why would I use Star Platinum in real life? Even though I can think of some scenarios and that's a potential video. But other stands, it's not the same. A lot of them, yes, you can still use them, but how often are you in dangerous positions to which you would have to use them? Like Killer Queen. When are you ever going to use Killer Queen unless if you lock yourself out of your own car? And even then, you're going to fuck up your own lock. You're fucking up your own lock to get into your car instead of just calling AAA and waiting the hour for them to unlock your car. Come on, bro. Unless you're someone with actual ops and enemies, there's no reason you need to be plotting on who to blow up for the day. Just go to your regular 9 to 5 and chill out, gang. It's okay. But having Hey Ya, that's motivation to be a better person. Hey, let's say you have a job and Hey Ya's on your back like, hey, if we hit a certain quota, we get a raise. I bet you're going to hit that quota and you'll be happy by the end of the week. Like, just in the most regular, normal, real life situations, Hey Ya would be the most useful because it's literally just, you know, encouragement and slight future sight. Not for you though. That's important to always remember. You do not have future sight. Your stand does though. Now, and don't get me wrong, there are definitely some stands that would be useful in everyday situations, but a lot of them it's just like, okay, there's this combat stand, sure, I could use it, but do I really want to? Do I need to? Do I have any really nefarious goals I have to accomplish to which they would cause me to use the stand? If the answer is no to all three of those, why would that be the best stand to have in real life? At that point, it would just be cool. You would just be one of those ore farmers like we already have in JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Like, bro, how cool is it to have a stand named after a diamond record that came out in the 2000s? But really, that's all I got for y'all. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. At the time of recording, we're about 4 days. You hear me? 4 days away from the elusive JoJo Day. By the time this comes out, JoJo Day is probably going to happen either tonight-ish or tomorrow. And really, this video, it's nothing more than just a rant about JoJo Day and everything I want from JoJo Day. Because I don't want much. I don't want much. My supporters know what I want. If you've been on my TikTok, if you follow me on Twitter or even Instagram, any platform outside of YouTube, you know what I want. I want Steel Ball Run. It's not too much to ask for. It can't be. You know what I mean? It can't be. I know that they could give us Steel Ball Run. They could at least announce it. They could give us a PNG, something. I don't give a damn who it is a PNG of either. It could be Gyro. It could be Johnny. It could be both of them at the same time. I don't care. I just need it. I've been starved for these past few years for the part 7. I've been waiting since Stone Ocean, the ending of Stone Ocean, which was beautiful, for that part 7. And I know y'all remember, but at the end of the Stone Ocean, they low-key started giving us a little bit of teasers. I need it. While I'm making this video, I might as well give y'all, you know, where you can stream it. A Beamer? I'll put it on the screen. But you can stream it there. The only issue with that is it has no subtitle option, so you're just going to be watching it in straight Japanese. So, but the bonus with that is you can watch it all the way up until April 19th for and just keep re-streaming it. But yeah, man, I'm just so excited for Steel Ball Run. I'm so excited for JoJo Day. You know, I kind of forgot that there is the possibility that we get other things besides Steel Ball Run. You know what I mean? But the literal focus, and they've said this themselves, the focus of the entire event of JoJo Day is connecting the past and future of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventures anime. They've basically given it away. They're making part 7. They've let us know. You know, if that's not the clearest indicator, I don't know what is. There's no way, I don't think they would say that if they were just making a Rohan movie or whatever the case is. You know, if it was just something about Rohan or something about a side character. You know, I've asked people on TikTok what they want from JoJo Day. Some of them have said like they want the PNG to come out and, you know, us to finally see the official colors, the official colorway we're going to get for Johnny, because that's another thing too. We don't know what Johnny's official colorway is going to be. Usually they're always a little bit different than what everyone thinks they are in the manga. Like, for example, I can't wait for when part 9 comes out in 2040 and we see Jodio's coverway. You know, I was looking through some things, you know, in between recording, and I realized that the streaming site that they are offering JoJo Day on wants you to pay $40. I'm not paying that. It's okay. I'm sure the JoJo Twit community will cook up with a link to a Discord so that we can all watch it and shit, you know. And if I do find my own link on the way to watch it, I'll probably just live stream it. Let me know if that's something you guys want. You know, the video will probably be out before JoJo Day comes out, so just let me know. Now, I want to give y'all some more things that are supposed to happen on JoJo Day. Of course, there's supposed to be a lot of big special announcements in regards to the future of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures anime. So, again, we're getting anime announcements confirmed. Those are stamped. We just do not know what the part we're getting or what we are getting. We could be getting a new spinoff. Araki could have saw how well Thus Spoke Rohan Kashibe did and decided to actually greenlight some other spinoffs he didn't necessarily write, but he worked on, because Purple Haze Feedback, he didn't write it, but he did the illustrations, and it was made as a 25-year anniversary gift for Araki and just to celebrate JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So I don't think it's completely outside the realm of possibility that we do get something of the sort. We get a spin-off announcement of the sort. But I do believe that the really big special announcement will be Steel Ball Run. I don't doubt it. It says they will look back at the mini games released so far and play some of them. That's another thing I've also heard too. Some people have been telling me they have a new Steel Ball Run game slotted on Steam. Like, that's just waiting to come out on Steam. It's going to come out soon on Steam. Y'all can fact check me. I don't know. I haven't looked it up. I haven't checked. I haven't done anything about that. But I've heard some people say, like, we might get some JoJo game announcement or something like that. And by this time this video comes out, the Eyes of Heaven remastered version video should have already came out. So y'all already saw how I felt about that. It also says that the cast will share how they encountered JoJo's and their thoughts about it. There will be a live performance, and cast will be appearing on videos for a quiz show. Now, who will actually be there? Here's everybody who's confirmed. The voice actor Jonathan Joestar, voice of Jotaro Kujo, the voice of Darby and Abakio, the voice of Jolene Kujo, the Joestars, and then with video appearances, the voice of Joseph Joestar, the voice of Josuke Higashikata, and the voice of Giorno Giovanna. That's definitely a star-studded cast, at least definitely to me. We have like 4 or 5. I think I think that's all the Joestars. That's all 6 of the Joestars, as a matter of fact, that have voice actors are there. So that also, at least to me, like everything I'm seeing, it might be the delusion talking, that might be what's talking right now, but everything I'm seeing all points to Steel Ball Run. I think we might get a new logo for Steel Ball Run. I know one thing I know for sure, and I keep saying this, and I've been saying this for months. I've been saying this for years, as a matter of fact. Since the first JoJo Day, we're not getting that trailer. We are not getting that trailer. We will not be getting that Steel Ball Run trailer. Now, this Saturday, April 12th, if you need the time zones, I'm looking at them right now. I got you. Pacific time, 2 a.m. So y'all on the West Coast are lucky cook. Mountain time, 3 a.m. Central time, 4 a.m. Eastern time, 5 a.m. UTC for UK, Portugal, Ireland, 10 a.m. For Brazil and Argentina, 6 a.m. These are pretty early in the morning. These are all early in the morning time slots. And I'm just going to let y'all know. Y'all better be prepared. Because just know, 5 a.m. sharp, Saturday, this Saturday, I will have to be there. Like, I'm going to have to set an alarm or something. I need to wake up to make sure I'm there for that announcement. Now, I want to talk about everything that's going on alongside JoJo Day, because there are a fair amount of events currently going on in Japan that are about JoJo's Bizarre Adventures and trying to expand JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, but not that many people know about them. First, we have JoJo Spots. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure themed spots and special decorations will pop up across 6 Toku Group locations: Magnet by Shibuya 109, Shibuya Hikari, Shibuya Stream, Toyu Plaza Shibuya, Shibuya Excel Hotel Toyu, and Shibuya Sakura Stage. Shibuya Excel Hotel Toyu, a special JoJo X Shibuya accommodation plan, is now available at the Shibuya Excel Hotel Toyu, offering exclusive original merchandise, collaborated cafe at the Lounge Escasson Cafe. The collaboration menu, inspired by iconic scenes and characters, are available and offers special items for those that order off of it. Then you have the Toku Group Food Arena campaign from March 21st to April 28th. All of them are from March 21st to April 28th. At 3 Toku Group locations: Shibuya Stream, Toku Plaza Shibuya, and Shibuya Sakura Stage. Customers who spend 1,500 yen or more at participating food arenas can get a random JoJo X Shibuya postcard as a special gift. Then finally, you have the Toyu Group X JoJo original merchandise sale, a special pop-up shop that is now open with limited original merchandise. So you may ask me why I even brought up all 5 of those. Just because, to show how big of an event it is for JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Usually I hear about JoJo news and I won't hear about as much news as I've heard probably in the past like 6 months, 7 months, but I've been hearing insane news just back to back to back to back to back. Whether it be Rohan Kashibe is getting a new chapter, or I read the new JoJo magazine, or whatever the case is. I'm just hearing crazy news. But I have faith and I have confidence that this will be the best JoJo Day yet. It's the 3rd one, I believe. I think it will blow the expectations out of the water. I think maybe we might get a few seconds of teaser trailer. That's me being extremely hopeful, but it's a hope. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. Giorno Giovanna is one of 4 of Dio's sons, his brothers being Donatello versus Ugalo and Rikael. And Giorno was so different from his other brothers that he's the only one to actually have a significant part, and literally just have a part. He's the only one of the 4 that have a part. And he's the only one that in part 6 did not show up when Pucci had fused with a part of Dio's DNA, therefore drawing not only the Joestars, therefore not only knowing where the Joestars are, but also drawing in Dio's sons. Now, the only mention of Giorno Giovanna comes on Rikiel's poster. His poster, and at the bottom it says, "Why isn't Giorno Giovanna there? Perhaps he's in Florida. Perhaps He's somewhere else. It's a mystery. That's literally all that we have canonically about Giorno's whereabouts during part 6. But it's always raised the question, especially to a lot of people, especially when they first saw and or read part 6, where is Giorno? Why wouldn't Giorno be drawn there? And why wouldn't Josuke be drawn there? Because Pucci can sense Joestars. No, like seriously, Jolene even said it herself before she died. He can literally sense her. Well, I just threw the Josuke one in because it's not really much of an explanation needed. Granted, he's a fully grown adult by this point. He might have moved, but like more times than not, he probably stayed in Morio the rest of his life, took care of his mother, been the probably town doctor. You know, we know canonically, at least during the events of part 5, he was still in Morio, and a little bit after that, because in Thus Spoke Ron Kishibe, I think it goes maybe 5 years, close to 3 or 4, somewhere around that gap after part 4. Okay, I actually found the timeline I'm pulling up. He was 27 in 2006 in this Rohan OVA, and I'm pretty sure Josuke appeared, but his face wasn't shown because Rohan fucking hates him, so we only saw the back of his head. So that confirms Josuke at least stayed in Morio like 7 or 8 years after the events of part 4, meaning he was like 24, 25. No, he was 23, 24. I thought he was 17 during part 4 for a second, my bad. But back to Giorno. Giorno is the oldest of Dio's sons. If I remember correctly, if he was 15 in 2001, he's 25 come Stone Ocean, 25 about to... No, he was actually 26, because Stone Ocean does go into... No, he was 27.
Shut the fuck up already. Enough.
Because Stone Ocean goes into 2012 April, and Giorno's birthday is in April. So yeah, he's 2 years older than his next oldest sibling, being Donatello versus. Okay, I went through the timelines again. So Golden Wind takes place at the end of March, I think March 29th, that's when Koichi lands, and ends in April 6th. Giorno's birthday is 10 days later. So that means come 2011, November 2011, or October 2011, he was 26. And he, by the end of Stone Ocean, he was about to turn 27 because Stone Ocean ends in March. I just had to make sure I got that right. Like, that was something that would have bothered me. But notice something between Donatello versus and Giorno Giovanna. Notice this, and I noticed this when I was reading both their backstories again. Donatello versus backstory is so similar to Giorno's, is actually insane. The only difference is Donatello versus wasn't getting beat. You know, both of them hated their stepfathers, as they both did pretty bad things. But Donatello versus, he never had a cop out. By the time he was 13, his life just immediately just kept getting worse. If I remember these events correctly, and y'all can correct me in the comments, he finds a pair of baseball shoes in the sky. He finds out they were owned by a baseball legend that were going to be given to disabled children. He tells the judge they fell out the sky. The judge sends him to juvie. They find out that he really didn't do the crime like 4 months later. But this is, I think, after he ends up walking around. He trips on a knife, and it gets a cut in his hand that infects him, but it belonged to an inmate, and that inmate beat him up regularly because he blew his knife hiding spot. Yeah, his life is just horrible. Like, even when we meet him, he's in despair because he's robbing a place and he got shot. You know what I mean? And the reason I find them to be so similar is because I think Donatello versus is kind of like what Giorno would have been had he not had that gangster that he saved that day when he was 5. Because remember, his stepdad really didn't like him, and his mom really didn't care. Giorno's life before then, it was so sad. He's like, the backstory said he stopped crying when he was an infant because he knew no one was coming to save him. Do you know how terrible that is? But even Ungalo, Giorno easily could have slipped into the drug trade and been another one of the kids that were just hooked on drugs and been a drug addict and a criminal all his life, like his literal other brother. I feel like in some ways, the other 3 of Dio's sons was like a peek into what Giorno could have been. Even Rikiel. Well, With him, it was, I feel, a lot worse for him because he just had a condition, uncontrollable, that literally just made his life horrible. And he was basically given salvation the same way Dio, his father, would give salvation to other people from Pucci, and that's why he used his stand the way he did. But at the end, he still did a good thing by revealing that Weather Report was Pucci's twin brother. He just got beat the fuck up for it. But how does this all tie in? Why wasn't Giorno just drawn to Pucci, who now had this Joestar curse mark? Well, we have to think back to part 5. In part 5, Giorno, the first, that's important, the first of Dio's sons, he, being the first, would have had the least amount of Dio's blood, as it's confirmed that even during he could not fully control Jonathan Joestar's body. We can say when Giorno was conceived, he had even less of a control on that, and as the years went on, he just gained more control. That's why his sons just were turned out different, really. And another had continuous bad luck continuously fall on him again and again and again. They didn't have anything going for their lives. They didn't even have the basics of any type of conviction. Hell, most of them were in straight up horrible positions right before Pucci met them. Rikiel was literally at home, anxious, with a fatal condition where he couldn't do anything. Ngalo was a drug dealer who was about to slice Pucci's neck for no reason, really, because he was trying to rob him, and Pucci literally just said, "Hey, we're just naturally drawn together," and he dead ass tried to cut his neck. All of them literally had nothing. They had no conviction, they had no goal, they went on no adventures, they did nothing. They were career criminals and drug addicts and just shut-in inside nerds. You know, Giorno was one who was actually a mafia boss. By this point, he had a decade plus experience with his stand. His stand had actually naturally came out when he was a teenager, probably because he had a strong will and conviction. And you can argue with him being the first of Dio's sons, as I mentioned before, not only of him having less of Dio's blood, him having a more Joestar Brando mix makes him more in the middle, you know, rather than the others who are more, you know, closer to the Brando side just based off personality and life experiences, maybe not necessarily by blood. But then that also brings the question, well, why didn't he help the Joestars if he has such a strong conviction and such a strong will? Well, there's the added fact that the Joestar family is just a secret to most of them, because again, most of them do not know their relatives, like Josuke, for example. He has no reference of existence of Jolene. He doesn't know who Giorno is. Hell, he probably doesn't even know who fucking Holly is. He literally only knows Jotaro and his father, because the Joestar family is so split up across different continents and different places. They don't keep in touch. And on top of that, it would make sense why Giorno wasn't necessarily naturally drawn to Pucci, because the other three were literally seeking out something in their lives. All three of their lives were very unfulfilling. They didn't like their lives. Some of them were anxious. One of them was a drug user. Add that to the fact that Giorno, which also knows this, he's so different from the other Joestars. You look at Jonathan, his goal was to kill Dio. Joseph's goal originally was to get Speedwagon back, then it was to stop the Pyramid. Jotaro's goal was to kill Dio. Josuke's goal was to kill Kira. Jolene's goal was to kill Pucci. Giorno was the only one who had an actual goal that was set for a decade plus, and he acted on that goal by rising in the ranks and coming at the boss. He's the only one who actually completed what would be a set goal. So I feel like that would complete the story of which he would call to him. And even then, you don't necessarily have to question Giorno not going to the Joestars, because even when you look in part 5, when Jotaro was in Italy, Giorno wasn't naturally drawn to him. Giorno wasn't even naturally anywhere near him. Jotaro and Giorno never even officially meet. You know what I mean? Giorno has no reference necessarily of any of the other Joestars at all. unless Koichi randomly travels to Italy and tells him about the other Joestars and tells him about Jotaro or Josuke or Joseph. I don't know, I've always felt like it made sense. Giorno's just not there. And it's not just because he's super overpowered. It's because he's completed his story. He's completed his goal. So now he's not necessarily a Brando, or he's not necessarily a Joestar. He's just Giorno Giovanna. Because he's the only one, again, who set out a goal and reached it in the main universe. In the alternate universe, that is completely different. All three of them literally set out goals, and we don't know if Jodio has reached his goal yet, but he probably will. But that's really all I got for y'all. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps, and until next time, peace. I find it crazy that Dio made a plan to get to heaven, and not only did he almost succeed in doing it, it went exactly how he prophesized it within his diary. The exact directions he gave Pucci to follow, Pucci followed them to a T, and that caused Pucci to activate all three elevations of his quote-unquote stand. Yep, in today's video, we're going to talk about the Heaven Plan and the Green Baby. Those two things in particular, because I feel like there's not that many videos on those two things, at least not that many that come out in this day and age. But we have to talk about two important parts before we even get to the ending of this video: the contents and how the corresponding events transpired. Because in Dio's diary, even though we don't know everything he said in there, we do know a good portion of what the Heaven Plan actually is. Now, the important thing about Dio's diary is that there are literally only two canonical people that actually saw the diary in real life. Well, three canonical people that saw the diary in real life and like looked in the contents, which was Pucci, Dio, and Jotaro. But the plan goes as follows: what you can find beyond the powers of my stand is where you need to go in order to find heaven. What you need is a trustworthy friend. He must be someone capable of controlling his own desires. He must be someone who is not interested in political power, fame, wealth, or sexual desires, and who will choose the will of God before the law of humans. Will I, Dio, be able to meet someone like this one day? What I also need is the lives of more than 36 humans who have sinned, because those who have sinned harbor a strong power within. There are 14 phrases that one must keep in mind. I'm about to name these, right? Spiral staircase, rhinoceros beetle, desolation row, fig tart, rhinoceros beetle, singularity point, Giotto, angel, hydrango, rhinoceros beetle, singularity point, secret emperor. I'll engrave these words onto my stand so I won't forget them. What is most necessary is courage. I must have the courage to destroy my stand momentarily. As it deteriorates, my stand will absorb the souls of the 36 sinners and will give birth to something utterly new. Whatever is born will be awoken. It will show interest in the 14 phrases that my trusted friend will utter. My friend will trust me and I will become his friend. Lastly, I need the appropriate location. North latitude 28 degrees 24 minutes, less longitude 80 degrees 36 minutes. Go there and wait for new moon. That's when heaven will come. Now, when I first read that, like for the first time, I initially thought, what does this all fucking mean? Because initially, I won't lie, I was confused. Y'all may call me dumb for that, but I was a little confused. But everything he said in this excerpt is the exact phases we follow through in part 6, all the way even up to the Green Baby being born. Because if some of y'all forgot or even don't know, the Green Baby is literally just born out of Dio/Jonathan's bone. That's why Pucci gets the Joestar birthmark, and that's also why Weather Report gets the Joestar birthmark, because they're twins. Don't ask me questions. Fate, twins, yeah. If you can explain it better than me, like why Weather has the Joestar birthmark, go ahead. I'm not judging. But it's also important to know Dio, it's unknown how Dio in particular came up with the whole plan, really. And I'm not trying to get into any of the light novel stuff. I'm really trying to keep it canon, but in the Over Heaven light novel, the 14 phrases that Dio says, they're basically just a lullaby that Dio's mother used to sing to him when he was a child. Yeah, the Over Heaven light novel actually goes in a lot on Dio's relationship with like his family and just his relationship with like culture and things like that. And it also talks a little bit about why he hated Jonathan. It's a really dumb reason. But to match everything from the excerpt and from the diary up, the trusted friend that Dio needed was Enrico Pucci. The 36 sinners were basically everyone Enrico Pucci had under him in the Stone Ocean prison. What is supposed to be Dio's stand is substituted with one of Dio's bones, you know, as I was talking about earlier. And that's how the green baby is born, because the bone is buried into the ground and it uses the blood of the 36 sinners in order to birth the green baby. As we remember, the green baby's birth was pretty fucking weird. And of course, the 14 phrases, which those 14 phrases, as I said earlier, once Pucci mumbled them, it was over. That's why we saw that super big flash of light once him and the green baby fused, because those 14 phrases caused that. It also caused Pucci to change himself, because now he had technically become again part Joestar. He had Joestar blood, making it make sense why he could actually track Joestars down. In the location referred to the space station, we see the Sea Moon vs. Jolene fight, and inevitably Made in Heaven coming out happening. You know, that's why Pucci said heaven will come, made in heaven. Now I also want to touch up on the green baby a little bit, because I had to mention how it got the souls of 36 people. Well, Sports Max used his stand, Limp Bizkit, to, that was the undead one, to put the bone, I'm pretty sure, somewhere, or it disappeared, then it showed back up into the convict cell. And essentially all it did was it would touch prisoners. And once it touches prisoners, they would get so infected to the point where they felt like they needed to go out into the sunlight. And as soon as they went into the sunlight, they'll become plants. Yes, I'm not joking. They will become plants. But to make it even stranger, you know, after the green baby was born, the green baby had its own stand, you know, and granted, that's the souls of 37 people, including Dio. But goddamn, own stand. So technically, there's like 4 main stands we see in part 6, because almost everybody got a damn stand. But the green baby, that shrinking stand though, it was low-key tough. I actually enjoyed that arc. Sometimes I think about all the things that really could have stands in JoJo's Bizarre Adventures though. Like, before I go, you know, dolphins, bears, you know, it's like a lot of things, you know, staplers. It could be a smooth stapler stand out there somewhere you don't even know. I'm pretty sure it's an ATM stand. But that's all I got for y'all in the video. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. Imagine you're told that you now have something that is called a stand. And after they tell you that, they just leave. They don't give you any instructions or anything like that. And you activate your stand and you think it's pretty strong, but you have no fucking clue how to use it. That's why we always have to appreciate some of the best stand users that we have in this series. And in my eyes, in some way, you can equate the best with the smartest. That's not necessarily what we're doing here, but you can see where it leads up to. Today we have the smartest stand users. 2. And getting straight into it, we have Josuke Higashikata. Now, I didn't talk about Josuke in the last video about stand users because I have been talking about Josuke mighty a lot, you know. Even though he's my favorite character, I don't have a problem with yapping about him for minutes and minutes on end, but I like to mix it up. Maybe give a few other characters that don't get talked about as much a little bit of love. But Josuke Higashikata has always been such an insane stand user. I don't know how much longer I can just ignore his presence of how smart he is when it comes to the use of stands. Now, it was obvious from the start, once we found out he was the son of Joseph Joestar, Josuke would be smart as shit, especially when it comes to fights and things of that sort. But man, just look back. Like, even look back to when he punched his own mother through the stomach. He only did that because he knew the stand that he was dealing with travels straight into the body so that they can essentially kill you from the inside. So he, in a split second, not only punched the hole through her, on the way out, he had already restored it. So by the time his hand is back here, the stand's in the bottle, and his mom didn't even know. Or as someone said in the last video, like in the comment section of my last video talking about the smartest stand users, Crazy Diamond literally took the ink off of paper. Do you know how crazy that is? No pun intended. Like, he took his restoration powers to a new level, to a new height that I don't think I had seen someone who's supposed to be like the group healer do that. You know, because in basic terms, in basically almost any other story where Josuke isn't the main character, he's literally just the group healer. You know, he would still be ridiculously strong, don't get me wrong, but he would be the group healer. But here he was moving. Like, you even have times when he literally couldn't stop moving. Like when Highway 13 was chasing him. I always bring this up. He took apart the fucking bike and put it together. That's just so ridiculous. Doing that while you're midair, right? Jumps off the bike midair. Bike is broken apart just so he wouldn't run into a fucking stroller. A baby stroller.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
Like, the average Josuke plot was literally just him just trying to think of what random way can I figure a way out of this. And it worked 90% of the time. Even when he was fighting Kira. When Kira was blowing stuff up, this man picks up a random shard of glass. I think it had his blood on it. It was like a shard of glass with his blood on it. And sent it right back to him. Do you know how crazy that is? And on top of that, Josuke has a way of incapacitating his like criminals without necessarily killing them, just leaving them with a life of unrest, which is fusing them with random things. Angelo got fused with a rock. I'm pretty sure someone else got fused with a chair. I think. It was something. But knowing Josuke, it's the fact Josuke could, if he wanted to, theoretically, fuse you to this fucking bookshelf if he wanted to. Okay, up next we got Enrico Pucci. I be putting Pucci in so many of these lists, but it's so worth it because whenever I really sit there and actually think about the context of Pucci's life, and you think about all the stuff that he accomplished, even with Whitesnake, you're like, oh, you cannot sleep on Pucci. Because I see some people hating on Whitesnake, and honestly, I was one of those people. I was one of those people that said Whitesnake was weaker, which, don't get me wrong, I still think Whitesnake isn't that strong, but it was strong enough to defeat a freshly powered up and very angry weather report, you know. So I have to give him that. Whitesnake is a one-hit, it's a one-hit stand, so I have to give him that. But Pucci has the title as probably one of the only men to ever outsmart Jotaro Kujo, especially Jotaro Kujo past part 3. Now, if you outsmarted him during part 3 and you're one of the side villains that worked under Dio, okay, I'll give you that, you know. By the time we get to the end of part 3 and on, I don't know, you're pretty much not outsmarting Jotaro like that, you know. You could say Kira got one over on him when he sent his sub-stand after them, but even then, if Jotaro wanted to, he deadass could have just threw that bitch out the window during time stop or something to that effect. Even though he himself probably wouldn't stop it fully, he wouldn't need to. But Pucci planned out an attack, and not only did he plan it, he executed it perfectly to the point where he knew at every step Jotaro would be glancing and looking at his daughter, making sure she didn't get hurt or even killed. And while that was happening, even in time stop, Jotaro admitted, damn, this nigga outplayed me. Because he turned around and he just sees Whitesnake manifesting right there. And then that other stand that, what was his name, John A, I think had, just sitting up at the top. And you also gotta look at like the situations Pucci puts himself in and Whitesnake in. It was very few times that I can say that I've seen Jolene actually get her hands on Pucci himself, because Pucci is not fighting you, especially when he finds out you're strong enough to really rival him. He knew that Jolene could probably beat Whitesnake, because when they did have that little altercation and he started getting a little cocky because Jolene was handcuffed, Jolene low-key put the works on him so bad to the point where, and this is where the smart part comes in, he tossed a replica of Jotaro's disc. That right there was enough alone to make Jolene stop hitting Pucci and go chasing the disc. But even with that, he knew that with Jolene distracted, now is the perfect time to go after the rest of the group. That's why when he shows up again, but this time he's disguised. I think he was disguised as weather report. It makes so much sense. Bro showed up and just impaled both of them because it tricked both of them. Foo Fighters and Anasui tricked both of them, leaving Jolene to be the only person that was still currently up. Because if y'all don't remember, Hermes was also currently out because she had beat her sister's killer, but he had did a low-key number on her. So that would mean in the span of maybe 30 or 45 minutes, he had done enough to get away from enough members, to get away or deal with enough members to the point where it left him and Jolene on a 1v1. And even though he lost that 1v1 with Jolene and gave her father's stand disc back, by this point he was already, the plan was basically already in motion. And all he had to do was just grab the green baby, which is what he did. And he fused. Like, a lot of Poochie's strategies reminded me of Dio's, except the difference between Poochie and Dio, Poochie is not super overly confident like Dio. Poochie's a lot more grounded in logic and like, yeah, I'm just finna kill you right here. We ain't even playing those games. I already know how dangerous you are. It's honestly blasphemous to make 2 parts of this video and not include Giorno Giovanna, so I have to include him in this last spot right here, because the more I think about it, the more I realized that Giorno was such a menace with his stand that I just forgot how smart he was with it. Listen, bro, even the basics of Golden Experience should tell you how creative you could really get with that stand. You're telling me I could turn inanimate objects into living body parts or things, or I could turn them into other inanimate objects? I could turn body parts into inanimate object? What? Like, so you're saying if I punch the ground, a tree would come up? It would? Like, bro, his powers is so crazy, and it's the way he uses them. Like Popo, for example, the first guy, when he was trying to get in the Passion, who had Black Sabbath, that big ass guy stuck in the jail. He turned his banana into a gun. And before he knew it, he had already blew his own brains out. Yo.
Fuck, don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
Imagine being one of the workers that has to clean that up the next day, and you're just like, well, we never gave him a gun. We didn't even allow anyone with a gun to walk in here. How did it? That just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Giorno is how it makes sense. He did it in such a way that not only could it just never be traced back to him, now his whole group is moving up because their leader is about to become a capo, taking the spot of the newly deceased one. Or we could talk about when he fashioned his own antidote to Fugo's stand. A stand that even troubles Fugo himself. A stand that Fugo himself could even die to. He made a fucking antidote for it. Do I need to remind y'all that he was 15 doing this? Oh, I can keep going too. There was a time when he just beat Malone and Babyface in that weird ass stand, and Malone was about to make a new humongous baby that was going to be even better. And this time it would know about Giorno's powers and all that. Giorno sent a cube of the burning previous Babyface back to Malone, but the cube was in the form of a venomous snake that bit his tongue. That's just ridiculous. And that's how he died too, but that's still ridiculous. And that's part of the reason I call him the smartest. When you have a stand that is so destructive and dangerous that you can turn anything into something else. You know what I mean? You can literally turn anything into something else. You have a stand like that, you can't be fucked with. Especially when you're someone who's very creative and can use them in any ways you see fit. That's why I feel like Giorno is one of the top 3 probably smartest stand users. Because the way he uses his stand compared to how almost everyone else does, it's on a different level. You know, he has a stand, which is, it's a part of the reason why I say it's a better version of Crazy Diamond. He has a stand that, even though it does hurt when it heals, he can still heal himself. Josuke can't. But really, that's all I got for today. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. You know, we're on the road to 5K, so Anything helps, and until next time, peace. JoJo's Bizarre Adventures Eyes of Heaven. It came out about 10 years ago, and lately I've been hearing on the internet some rumblings of people asking for a remastered version of Eyes of Heaven. And really, I just wanted to get my thoughts about the topic. Now, in short form, I could probably tell you, we most likely do not need a remastered version of that. We definitely don't. As a matter of fact, not even most likely, we just don't. The game, at most, I don't see them updating the graphics. I don't see them updating anything. We get 5 new characters, and the 5 new characters are just going to be side characters from random parts they missed, like Foo Fighters. We're going to get Hot Pants, Mikitaka. We're not getting Mikitaka. Wonder of You. Maybe a new Poochie skin, and that's it. They're finna give us one Part 9 character who's just Jodio. We're just going to get Jodio Joestar. Exactly like they did Josuke 10 years ago. It's just going to be Jodio Joestar. Going to be 2 or 3 more Part 8 characters. Like, I just don't see them expanding that much. And on top of that, it's more of a story game. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those games that you really only hop on to play the story. If you really hop on for the gameplay, I would be somewhat shocked. Not even somewhat, I'll be kind of shocked. And really, when people talk about like a new Eyes of Heaven remake, they usually say, oh, the voice actors, we get the anime voice actors now. That's cool. Okay. New dual heat attacks. Cool. Okay. New characters. Cool. Okay. I just feel like the game never called for more. Other than if it was DLC. Because there's no reason to make more. You already have the whole story created and mapped out. What are you going to do? Add the new DLC characters to the story? Hopefully you could do that. Now let me stop hating though. Because the story was pretty good. I like the story. Pretty sure I made an Eyes of Heaven video on my channel. But I like the story. The gameplay was just a little annoying, honestly. And it's also the fact that like you have to do extra steps just to play multiplayer. I'm just trying to play multiplayer with my friend, but I can't.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Now, I will admit, exploring maps and opening up more maps, adding more maps, that's actually something I would enjoy. I enjoyed the maps in Eyes of Heaven. I really did. It was something that I felt like was a plus for the game, the maps. But I also wanted more maps. But then again, I wasn't surprised we didn't get that much from the game because again, it's an anime game. Anime games usually don't get that much. They don't get that many characters. They don't get all that because that costs money. And if that game ain't successful, they are not putting all that in. Why do you think a lot of successful animes get one game and then the company says never again and they never give them a game again until years later when fans are begging, pleading, asking on their hands and knees for a game and then finally they throw them a bone? And if that game's not successful, they never do it again. There's a reason anime companies really only stay within 4 animes, which is the big 3 and Dragon Ball Z. You can't go wrong. A lot of people love them. Hundreds of millions of people love those animes. So you can't really go wrong when you're adding it into the game, even if in that game, you're just giving them the same story over and over and over and over again. Why do you think Dragon Ball games will never die? It doesn't matter if the anime ever comes back. There will still be another Dragon Ball game within the next 5 years. Not even. It probably won't even take that long, but I'm just going to say 5 years. Because everyone loves Dragon Ball. But All-Star Battle and Eyes of Heaven aren't in the same boat as those big 3 or those Dragon Ball games. And really with the big 3, Bleach literally just got their games back. They just got their games back. But JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, it hasn't really been successful with games in the West. Now, I'm pretty sure there's like old JoJo games, or there is old JoJo games that were actually pretty good, but they were in Japan, or they just never came to US. Now, me personally, I think Eyes of Heaven, if anything was ever done with Eyes of Heaven, which I kind of doubt, especially now, I feel like we should give it just a remake, a redo, maybe a little sequel, something more, instead of, oh yeah, here's the remastered version with a few new characters and some new arenas. Here you go. Enjoy it for 2 weeks. Because then everyone's going to hop on. They're going to be like, oh shit, we got a new JoJo game. Cool, right? And then after maybe a month, everyone's going to hop back off. And that's being generous. It's really going to be like a week. It's going to be a week until everybody hops back off and they just never pick up Eyes of Heaven R again. But a remake intrigues me a lot more because the concept itself isn't that bad. Even the gameplay isn't that bad. It's just a little clunky, honestly. But the story mode, if it's reworked around the new characters that are added in, and then you add in the little bits of, or what's left of part 8, pick a new villain to run the super gauntlet, you know, have everyone still meet each other, it could be a really good game. Honestly, it really could. I think a remake would do it more service than just a remaster. Like, I just don't like the idea of us getting the Eyes of Heaven remastered. I don't. Because then, how much faith do I put in Bandai Namco to actually give a fuck enough to rework the story around these new characters instead of just giving us these new characters and adding in side missions for them to do and never reworking the story around them. And let me also say this. A part of the reason why I don't want just another remake is because we saw what happened with another remaster is because we saw what happened with All-Star Battle R. They gave up on that game so quick. They gave it and then they just said here, and that was it. Didn't make that many changes. It's around the same game you could have gotten 10 years ago, except there's some new characters. And you know, I don't fault it for that because it's a fighting game. It's a real fighting game. It's not like Eyes of Heaven. Eyes of Heaven, its combat is completely different. Its whole structure is completely different. But All-Star Battle R, it's a fighting game. So like, I can understand that. But really, that's all I got for y'all. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And we're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. Sometimes when making characters, the author may make some characters who are made just to serve one purpose, or they're made to be forgotten. In either way, they had one job, one role, and they came and they went. And this happens across all different types of media you could think of: TV shows, comics, books, novels, anything at all. But today, we're going to talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, and really, we're going to talk about some more characters that were forgotten. Yes, if you missed the first one, you're missing out. This is part 2. And up first, we have someone who really only had 2 chapters in the manga, but you may remember him because he had somewhat of an iconic role in part 3, Wilson Phillips. Now, if that name doesn't ring a bell, it's probably because he's the politician that Dio got in his car. Now, his most iconic moment is just Dio fucking with him like he was fucking with most of the other people in part 3 and just using the world to repeatedly put him in the car every time he ran out. But I can give y'all a little backstory because Araki surprisingly actually gave him a backstory and a background. He graduated high school at the top of his class as a college wrestling captain, and he went on to become a respected politician within his state. He also ended up marrying a woman 25 years younger than him, this is all by his own admission, and moved to a place with 50 acres. He bought that place too. Sorry, I got that messed up. His place isn't 50 acres, it's actually 1,000. He just claims to pay 50 times the average amount an American pays in taxes. I don't believe this. Alright, enough with the backstory. We can get on to what he did in Stardust Crusaders. He was driving through Egypt, driven by his driver as a senator from the United States, until he was forced to stop by no one else but Dio. Now, once they stopped, the driver, he had tried to intimidate Dio. He obviously saw Dio, this 6'5", tall, blonde man who just randomly stood in front of his car and said, you know what, that's not nothing, I can intimidate him. But what does the driver get for that except a broken arm? Yeah, because Dio asked him a question if the car worked, and he wasn't going for that. So Dio gets in the back and he tells Wilson Phillips to drive. But he ain't going for that. Now, if I remember correctly, Dio did something to somewhat injure Mr. Phillips, and Phillips tried to run out the car, but the world wasn't going for that either. And he got getting placed directly back in his seat every time he ran out that door. Every single time. Until he just eventually got in the front seat and started driving. Now, of course, it being Dio and Dio being the literal reincarnation of pure evil, he forced that man to drive through a sea of people, making him lose his sanity and eventually making him willingly, yes, he willingly wanted to drive and chase down Joseph Joestar after he started driving through people. Dio makes you do crazy things, man. I don't know. But all of that was null and void because about 3 seconds later, he died. Just dead. You know, and Dio just threw him at Joseph Joestar's car. Yep, respect your driver, can't you? I mean, you could feel bad for him, but how many politicians do you, yes, you watching this video, care about? That's what I thought. Okay, up next we got Shizuka Joestar. Now, she is the honorary special member of the Joestar family. And you may wonder, well, why have we just never seen her in any fan arts, or we haven't seen her in any other parts or anything like that? Araki didn't even write a spin-off about her because we literally can't see her. So to me, it's just not surprising people forget about her because, again, how do you remember something you can't see? You're going to remember a baby with sunglasses and a hat? Okay. A baby born and lost in Morio that just had invisibility powers. Like, that's literally just her whole stand, and that's really her whole stand for now. We never know what could have happened in the future to what happened when her stand manifests. Maybe she gets some type of sentient being that only she can see. No, like literally this time, like even stand users, only she can see it. But her appearances in part 4 are really slim, but they make sense. The first one is when we first meet her and we learn that she's literally just an invisible baby. And that's when Josuke and Joseph go on a wild goose chase, as that was the first time they ever did some proper father-son bonding. And really just think about that for a second. You've never met your 80-year-old father, and the first time y'all ever hang out, y'all meet a fucking invisible baby, and your father decides to adopt it. Your 80-year-old father decides to adopt a baby. After her appearance episode and really just one more random Rohan side mission episode that she appeared in and helped him win, I'm not getting into that. Do not ask me for that. Unless you ask for a full video on her history, I'm not getting into that. She didn't really do much else. In all honesty, she was just there being an invisible baby held by Joseph Joestar that we never even got to see fully materialize as a human. Never even got to see anything. She was just a baby. Okay, to end this video off, we have someone who I really never thought I would talk about because they're so forgotten. I didn't even think they would ever come up in a video. And I usually have a rule against using parents, especially when the parent doesn't even have a name for real, but she's an important part of a entire plot line. We're talking about Donatella Una, Trish's mother, Diablo's partner at some point back in the 80s, and I'm honestly just shocked Diablo ever even had a partner. Or Doppio. Both of them are fucking weird. I'm not giving Doppio the fucking pass. Imagine you're out on a date with your girl and you're Doppio, and next thing you know, you get a call from the boss, and now you're picking up a fucking bottle of wine. Hello? Now's not a good time, You're making that dumbass ringing noises with your fucking mouth, and now you look like a weirdo. Whatever. Back to Trish's mom. Trish's mom and whatever fake name Doppio or Diablo decided to give her met in 1984 or 85, where they grew close and eventually they had a baby girl. Now, they met in 1984 or 85, right? Doppio left her by 86. That's fucked up. And it wasn't until 15 years later when she came down with a unknown illness and started looking for Trisha's father is when he actually became aware of the fact that he even had a daughter. Which again is also crazy. Meaning he probably left her when she was pregnant and not showing. But after she had got the illness diagnosis, it took 2 months for it to fully take over and unfortunately end her life. Now, one more thing I also want to mention is that Diavolo actually had a photograph of her that he personally had took. That is so uncharacteristic of Diavolo that I have to admit, whoever she was must have found a way to get through to his cold and icy heart. Getting a man whose name literally translates to the devil to even want to take a picture with you is a feat within its own. So I feel like she owes a round of applause. He's also still fucked up for just hitting and quitting, but that's how I guess mafia bosses move. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. You know, we're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace.